Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. My name is Miss Penny. Hello, lovely Blue. Yeah, you the first one. Uh, Hello, lovely Blue. Welcome to the Chemistry Channel. My name is Miss Penny. I also run the Spiritual Roots Hoodoo community. What's new? I just started a little group over there on TikTok because people get in my box and answer questions. So if you are part of that group and you have subscribed um, to that group, then I will answer questions in that group. So that's new over there on TikTok. If that's something that you're interested in, you're not ready to get be in our community, you can on Patreon. If you're not ready to join us on Patreon, you can definitely go over there because I usually don't. Hello, Moonchild. So if you're not in that community, then I will not answer any questions. I have a lot of people get in my box and want to ask me questions and things like that. I don't do that if you're not part of our community. If you don't book a reading and you're not part of our community, you haven't subscribed to us on TikTok or on Patreon, then I'm not answering any questions. So, but I do have a platform for you to ask questions if you're not ready to be in our Patreon community. You can ask those questions on TikTok and subscribe to our group or subscribe to our group and ask questions in that group. I'll share some things in that group if you're over there. Okay, so let's move on. We have a very juicy topic, especially for my community on Patreon. For all the beginners, if you're new here to our community, you're going to want to sit here and kind of understand this because this is going to be the foundation to your practice. Is doing the spirit work. I know what you've seen up here. You've seen a lot of people sharing spells and you're constantly hearing that the ancestors is the one who developed Hoodoo or who developed these ATRs. But you don't quite, some of us don't quite understand how we work with them or how that fits in. Hello, Lavita, how that fits in. We're going to talk about this, and I've talked about it many times in our community. So, you guys, when you're going through these materials in our community, if you click the hyperlinks in there, it's going to open up to books, and you're probably going to have many presentations that you go through. You're gonna hear this over and over again, but I'm having it again for some of the newbies that's in here and doing a full breakdown of spiritual communication and what that looks like. Because sometimes we're our expectations are very different from what we experience when it comes to spiritual communication. Something else I wanted to address as well. Okay, it'll probably come up later. Hello, Time Shifting Army. Hello, Lovely Blue. Hello, TikTok family. Hello, YouTube family. Hello to all who are here today getting this juicy, getting this some of this juicy information. You're going to find it very helpful. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. In our Patreon community, on the older posts, make sure you open up the posts because they are videos and presentations there. So if you are, if you're in the ritual, conjure, or know thyself membership, make sure if you're looking at older posts, because I try to put a presentation and a book review with every post. So make sure you're looking at that. And that's why I give you really more insight into what you find in the materials. You'll find that very helpful. So usually with every post, I'm going to do some type of uh, video lecture with it to give you more insight. Okay, I'm just not going to give you a book. You're going to get a lecture with it. I'm going to break it down and we're going to talk about it over there on each post. There's going to be a lecture in there. Okay, and every now and then I come here and I share it with, you know, the social media community. But even with this post in our group, when I posted this invite in our group, you got to books in the hyperlink. So open those books because the things that I'm going to be talking about today are in those books. Okay. So if you're in our community, you have that resource. And that's what I'm covering today. So make sure you go and look into that. I do not recommend in those resources. I don't recommend. We're not looking at the spirits that they're working with. We're reading those books to understand spiritual communication and how we interact with spirits. That's why we're reading the book. Please pay no attention to the spirits that they're working with in the book. We're not reading those resources for that. We're reading it to understand how spirits move and how they respond to us. Okay. Hello, Gerald. I can't wait to see you. And we've been doing some really good work in our Know Thyself membership. We had a great time yesterday. We was in there for a while too, talking about our stuff. And it was, we really earned some stuff out. We really have a chance to reflect with ourselves, be real with ourselves, be loving with ourselves. It was just awesome. I loved it. I really enjoyed the community. So it's growing, it's getting better. And now we're breaking down the workbook and we're actually reading the workbook together. We're in phase one, and we realize, phase one bring out all our isms and the things that we need to work on. So it was just a beautiful experience at the meeting yesterday. Um, sis Penny, it's good to see you on here. We're going to be rejoining the community. I pray I see y'all in there. Wait, there are meetings yesterday. Yes, it was. It was posted in there. I always post a poll in there to give you a heads up and give you an opportunity to choose a day when we want to meet. And then I post when the date is set and I looked at the poll and look at the majority vote. Then I post the date and then the link to attend the meeting. So it's good for you to be checking in there. And if you're new to community, check in there because once a month we're having a whole community meeting where we talk about the practice, where you ask any questions and share about how your practice is going. If I can give you any insight, any information, or share an experience with you that will help you, then we do that uh, in the whole community. Then we have the Know Thyself membership where we're doing the shadow work, we're healing, we're unpacking the intergenerational trauma, and we're talking about our journey and the things that we're working on. So it is just a great experience. Okay. And you really start to awaken yourself when you start doing the shadow work. You really start looking at things. So it's just great. Yes, I voted, but I never got the notification for the meeting. But I watched the replay. Yeah, I'm gonna post the replay probably later on this evening, probably tomorrow. So you'll get a chance to watch the replay. But it's important if you guys are in that Know Thyself membership, please don't come to the meetings. That's where you do the work. You cannot do that work alone. I don't recommend it because I need you talking, and when you're talking, you're tapping into your power. So many realizations happen when we start, talking. And I think for people of color, we really need to work on our emotional intelligence and being able to, identify emotions when they come up and how to process them. We just haven't been taught that. So we definitely focus on that in that membership. Okay, so let's get to the juicy stuff, everybody. This is probably going to be a long video, but my videos are really long because they sometimes they can be long because I'm really chatty. So get comfortable. If you want to come in and ask questions, you can, but you know, we're going to cover everything related to spirit. So if you want to come back to this video and you want to learn about hoodoo, I know that they've been showing you spells. No, if you are not right with these spirits, they can block your work. Your work needs to be clear. And your ancestors, your spirit guides, they make sure that your prayers are answered and you're clear. That's why you're doing the spiritual bath. That's why you're developing relationship with these spirits. Sometimes you won't even have to do spells. You're actually doing rituals and petitions to these spirits to get your prayers and petitions answered. I think the best framework to understanding this too, because we talked about this in our community, but I might cover this again, is working with saints. because you have to petition them and set up tables. That's how that's done in the Catholic Church. They're setting up, tables to saints, candles, and the things they like, and putting out offerings and petitioning the spirits. They're making friends with spirits. This is the altar work that needs to be done. The spell doesn't it don't mount to a hill of beings if you ain't got no relationship with those spirits, because those spirits can stop your magic if you ain't right with them. That's why we want to develop a relationship with these spirits first and have a good relationship, so when we go to our table, our work will move. We've already addressed our ancestors. We've already addressed our spirit guides. We've did a divination, and we know that the work is gonna move when we do it. Like I say, we look both ways before we cross these streets. And we don't just be doing something at sporadic moments. We time it. It's got to be the right time. We're working. It's all about working with this natural energy. Okay? And you cannot trick a spirit. I'll say this again. People get over here and go crazy and try. You cannot trick a spirit. Have yourself together. Have your mind together. Be healed when you start working with these spirits. The mind, your emotions, your body, it needs to be functioning properly. Okay, all this works together. But I digress. Let's go in here and let's talk about the juicy stuff. And if you have, this is Kayla, by the way. I wanted to be on there to make sure you record. I know that's right. I didn't hit record at our last meeting, but I hit it at this Know Thyself meeting. So, but now this makes up for the meeting I didn't record over there. God, thank you, Kayla. And so let me jump in here. To properly understand magic, one must realize that though there are many branches and paths of magic, they all break down into two categories. The first of these is something to refer to as direct work, which is term used to refer to magic that involves the creation of oils, powders, talisman, and so on. Work often requires the practitioner to be hands on with the item and to plant that item on their target. We do this in Hoodoo too. So we do direct work too. Okay. This form of magic is considered direct work because while it may involve prayers, invocations, and other methods of calling on spirits, the bulk of the work relies on the practitioner getting their hands dirty with the work, so to speak. And that's what our ancestors say. They have to get their hands dirty sometimes. They have to make their own conjure oils. They have to go collect conjure dirt. Okay. Sometimes your work, you put it up here, it don't look pretty. I have work, I'll be like, oh, this is just so messy, but I got to get the work done. Okay. You might have to work with some curios. And curios are animal parts and things like that we use in our practice. And back then, some of our ancestors collected their curios themselves. So that was a really messy task. The second form of magic is referred to as spirit work. And this is focus of this work. The focus of this work is spirit work, is magic that involves evocations, but we rarely do evocations. Uh, we rarely do that, but that usually is done by a seasoned conjurer. We do evocations, invocation, and otherwise petitioning of the spirits. While many people come to magic with the intent of engaging the spirit world, it must be remembered that spirit work is not necessarily the easy path of magic. In some cases, it can take many years before one sees even a slight manifestation of a spirit. Our approach seeks to make the path of spirit work more available to the practitioner, whether they are beginner or adept. Okay, so evocation, a lot of the high magic people that practice high magic and uh, they have these rooms. I've talked about this before. They have these whole rooms and sometimes houses dedicated to evoking a spirit on the physical plane. That takes a lot of energy. I think there was Cornelius, there was a story about Cornelius Agrippa doing this for a woman, and it took him 12 hours to do this, and he was exhausted. And when the spirit did come, you know, it attacked him because, he was commanding it to come, and he was doing this for 12 hours. So I do not, in hoodoo, we do not do these things. But you have people that are in the occult. This is the way, you want to demand and try to use these spirits. It's gonna turn out bad for you every time doing it like that. So our ancestors, we're very good at making friends with spirits. Okay, we do not use that method, the occult method, the conjuring or the summoning, the way they do. That is not our approach at all. We do not approach spirits like that. We make friends with spirits. We appease them. Okay, and a better way of learning this is to working with your ancestors. The same way you connected with your ancestors is the same way you're gonna connect with these other spirits. Okay. So you might see some of this in this book, but we do not, that it's not our way. And you're hearing me say that here and now. Okay. Spirits are real, and even that they are independent, but we must also acknowledge that they exist in a way that is more subtle and fluid than a human or a horse. So again, it's gonna, what you see on Hollywood is not gonna be that way. It's a whisper, it's a knowing. Believe me, I'm in contact with them all, when they tell me something, I'm never alarmed. It's always go look at, it's so subtle. It's so subtle. I just had a, for example, uh, I've been had something going on. I was waiting for a response from this person. And I was like, I don't want to keep, looking at this phone. And so said, we'll tell you when they contact you. And I was like, well, how would I know? They said, we'll tell you, just go to doing what you're doing. And so I just went back to doing what I was doing, focusing on something else. And then all of a sudden I got a little nudge that said, go check that phone. That woman has reached back out to you. I checked the phone, and sure enough, she had reached back out. It was not alarming. It was not nothing like out of Hollywood. It's very subtle. And sometimes it feels like your own thought. Okay. I do not recommend love spells. You don't need to be doing those spells. If you're gonna do a love spell, do it on you. Try to figure out why you trying to make somebody love you. Are you not enough by yourself? Really sit with that. What is the reason for that? I don't recommend love spells at all. If you're gonna do it on yourself, to attract love in your life and to help you learn how to love yourself. That'd be some of the problem with this. I don't. Matter of fact, I don't. You're gonna be doing any spells and hoodoo, and you just the beginners. They need to be on yourself. They don't need to be on nobody else. You need, I recommend that you be healing your life. That's what needs to go on there. That's self care. That's self love. When you done healed your life and you successfully getting yourself together, then try to help somebody else. But that's what I recommend. I'm not gonna get in my soapbox about that, but you're welcome. Merriam-Webster defines consciousness as a state of quality of being characterized by sensations, emotions, volition, and thought. All space and time pregnate with formless awareness that can organize in endless ways. So, like I told you, these spirits are consciousness, and so are you. Your consciousness is just in a shell. Okay, that's why I tell you, you cannot fool no spirits, so don't try. You talking about something that's pure consciousness that see your thoughts emanate from you. They can see that, so there is no sense in you shucking and jiving. And they're not gonna move anyway until you get real. Okay, if you've been dealing with good, healthy spirits, they're not gonna move until you get real, until they see some shifting and changing. Humans are spirits too. After all, if we take this simple idea and run with it outside of the purely materialist work view, our own consciousness can be organized along a number of different models apart from just the brain. So I remember I was telling you the brain is very, you know, it's supposed to be a compartment that is said the mind is from, you know. It's very interesting, but yet no one can really see our thoughts. No one can really see our ideas and inspiration, you know. So the mind is very the makeup and how it works is just very different. Okay, that's I don't have words to even explain it or break that down even more. A Hugon from Haiti once explained that petronations laws arose from the need for spirits wrathful enough to pull off a slave revolt. Okay, and so those petro spirits, I love this for an example because we do have warrior ancestors. I don't like the way he explained this, like this, as far as they were wrathful spirits. No, they were warrior spirits. Okay, spirits from the Congo and other nations were given very specific offerings and rituals that would attract spirits who had the nature and help bring it out in others. Okay, so they was trying to bring out that warrior energy. And one thing about the petro spirits, especially you ones that said in the conjure, in our conjure, who's have done the work and you're ready to conjure with a lot of spirits, because that's where we introduce you to a variety of spirits to work with and conjure. You better know what you're doing, because if you say that you can do that, that's what I'm going to give you. Okay, so if you ain't did no shadow work or none of that, I don't recommend you be doing no working with these spirits. Okay, some of them you don't need to be working with them if you have not did the work. So again, it was the most successful and lasting slave revolt in history. So these petro spirits, they are hot spirits. They work really fast. They can be, volatile, but it take a specific type of individual. You have to be very seasoned to work with these petro spirits. However, they are the other side of rada spirits, which are cool spirits, which we can work with. So you got cool spirits that we work with, and we're getting ready to go into this is going to make sense too next month, because we're going to get deeper into some hoodoo spirits, and you're going to really understand how voodoo and hoodoo uh they start to get interchangeably when we start to follow our ancestors. We go right into voodoo. Hoodoo, we're gonna lead you right into voodoo. It's just no way around it. I don't know why practitioners don't talk about it, but once we go into hoodoo, it's gonna take you into voodoo. There's really no way around it because it's ancestral. And if you stay in voodoo long enough, it's gonna take you right over there and probably lead you either gonna go into Hinduism, or you're gonna go and start working. May the ancestors may lead you to start working with the Orisha. It's just because these are ancestors. Get the religion out of your mind. When you start to work with your ancestors, you might start being exposed to a variety of systems, because we have many nations running through our DNA. I know practitioners haven't broken down to like you like that, because you have these people being religious minded, thinking in boxes. But when you follow the ancestors, when I tell you there is no limit, there's really not. Especially when it comes to your self development, they want you to know something. But let them lead you. Don't do it on your own. Ask them, get consent. Every indigenous culture has a catalog of different categories of spirits. When researching a spirit for a ritual, there are a few details that are important to know. The first of these is the origin of that spirit. Origins are important because they give us clues into how a particular culture, a tradition perceives certain things. These spirits, in turn, can give us even deeper insight into the appropriate etiquette needed when working with a particular spirit. Research them. Okay, because the minute that you start researching, that's why I give you all the guidebooks to particular spirits that you want to work with, because I want you to have all the information so you will know how to set up a table to them and attract them to the altar or the table. Research them, find out as much information that you need to find out on them on your own. Don't ask nobody what it is. You're going to come up, don't cross yourself up with this, because you're going to get yourself crossed up when you go to asking people. That is not that is your job. These spirits are watching you. Stop trying to take shortcuts and think that you can trick a spirit. It just ain't going to happen. They have to see you do the work. This is where it's count. I don't even know why you would try to. People try, but then they go crazy because they took shortcuts and they don't know how spirits talk. And now you got all these voices in your head, and now you think you're going crazy. Okay, you're getting the full scoop today. You're getting full disclosure today. Something that you know is probably going to be helpful for you. Okay. After you determine the culture of origin, the next thing to look for is the habits and taste of the spirit you are wanting to work with. Each spirit has its own likes and dislikes. These can vary greatly, even in the same tradition. This is because many spirits have multiple aspects, even under one name. So make sure that you're looking at them very, very carefully. And you'll see that with some of the angels. uh, what was the angel I was working with? I was working with Camiel, but Camiel has a dual side. They say that with Samuel, and this has, they call it a dark aspect, but it's not. He has a side of I think that's right. I think I have that right. Yeah, he has a dual character where he has a lot of Mars energy, and he can be fierce with justice. And so he can get confused with these dark aspects, such as Lilith as well. Okay. Not to mean that they are, you know, they're not bad. However, they're very direct energies that have used pain to bring order into their lives or into their work, especially with Lilith. But Samuel, I mean, when he comes in, he does what is necessary. If he need to slay, that's what he's going to do. And you've earned the energy. He would not be able to do it if the energy was not there. He's there to bring divine order. And some people, he is very scary, but very beneficial in justice work. That's why I say too, when you're going to these spirits too, uh, you know, make sure you got your stuff together. Some of them require that. Many of them require that. Okay. So make sure that you are looking at each, the spirit very carefully. I don't know what spirit that your ancestors might lead you to. However, making sure you do the full research on that spirit, especially if you're working in the graveyard. A lot of people do graveyard work. Seek out that spirit, get their name, go to the news, look through the newspaper, learn as much as you can if you're going to be working with graveyard spirits. Some people do that. Don't just go in there working with any spirit. Do research and learn about that spirit. If some people do that, the real seasoned practitioners, they go to the graveyard and they collect spirits from the graveyard to do work. They learn them and they learn about who they are and take them offers and everything, just like you would meet anybody on the street. Just like you would engage with a stranger and try to befriend them. That's the same way, was because they were once human. It's really no different. But over here in Hoodoo, we do work with spirits. No practitioner work could not stay clear without working with elevated ancestors, a saint or angel, some type of deity. Is You need to have it clear. Even if they're working, someone is doing work for you. 9 times out of 10, if they are seasoned and they know what they're doing, they are working with the spirit. It's really no way around that. Okay. Therefore, you should be aware of the aspect of the spirit you wish to contact, what that aspect prefers as an offering, as well as what would enrage it. So, learn as much as you can about them if you're going to be working with spirits. But with your ancestors, you're going to keep it simple and you're going to offer things that they like. No, they don't want your vegan food because your ancestors were not vegan. So please don't, try to convert your ancestors to be vegan. I see people trying to get, fix them the things that you know that they would like. Okay. Once you have identified the proper offerings for the spirit you wish to contact, you should turn your focus to the traditional methods of calling, serving, and communicating with this spirit. In this respect, we are often forced to improvise a bit. Okay, so this is where we improvise in hoodoo. We set up, we do it. I think, like I said, the great example would be the Catholic Church. We just set up tables and we start sitting there and we sit there and start trying to connect with that spirit. We might say some prayers, some invocations, play some music that would attract that particular spirit, because music is easy to tap into the spiritual realm using music. You probably want to create you a chant to tap into that frequency. We keep doing this until we start getting some subtle and subtle responses from the spirit. This might take 2 or 3 weeks, depending on what spirit you're trying to call, what you're working with. Okay. We're not asking this spirit for anything right off the bat. We're beginning to develop a relationship with it and get, signs and subtle clues that the spirit is present. Asking for signs. We may do divination there, but we keep doing this before we start asking for anything. You wouldn't go up to a stranger and ask them for, go up to a stranger and say, "Hey, give me $100." You think they're gonna give you $100? No, because they don't know you. The same thing with the spirit or your ancestors. If it's your friend and they know you and you've developed a relationship with them, or if it's your ancestors, if you walk up to them and say, "Can I please have $100?" They're probably going to give it to you and not expect anything back. Same thing here. Same thing applies. When they see you being consistent, putting the things that you like on their altar, spending time with them, they're more likely to answer your petitions. If you think you just gonna go over there, it trips me out because some people try to treat these deities and spirits like they're wish givers. I'm just gonna go. You ain't talked to Oshun, you ain't talked to Ogun, but you think you finna go over there and get them a favor. You ain't gave them no offering before. You ain't prayed or did no dedication or nothing with them, but you think they just gonna outright answer your petition. They don't know you. In fact, some of us are doing it without the consent of our ancestors. The only time that's really probably going to happen is that could possibly happen. I know Saint Expedite is good for that. That's probably going to be the saint that you go to. But even after that, he wants to be paid. And some people find themselves working with him more closely after he has done something. They just go ahead and because he is uh, good for a variety of things. Okay, so make sure you're slowing down. That's why slowing down in this practice is going to be your friend. You're going to get more results slowing down than trying to, you know, go fast and do frivolous spells. And your spells are not going to really stick and stay long if you don't have this spiritual support. They're not going to have any real cachet behind it. I'm telling you the truth right here and now. I know no one has ask yourself, Why is somebody volunteering to give you a spell? And then look at, did it work? You know, this is full disclosure here, so you'll understand the work, the spirit work with what you're doing. After learning about the spirit's origin and having determined the appropriate offerings, you'll want to see if there are any seals or alternate names or known invocations of the spirits you are seeking to work with. When you have compiled this information on the spirit you are attempting to contact it, it is a time to start making preparations. Gather the items you will need and prepare your ritual area appropriately. The idea is to make the spirit comfortable in your space so that it is more likely to manifest. And do not share this altar. Once you set it up to that spirit, please don't put another spirit up there with it. No, no, no. Don't do that. If that's the spirit that you want to work with, do not put it on your ancestors. It need to have its own table. Do not do that. Okay? All spirits, are not equally the same. So do not do that. Let them have their own table. Okay? Once you have completed the research aspect of the spirit work, the next phase for any kind of spirit work is the immersion phase. This is when you focus deeply on this spirit. And sometimes they'll start communicating with you when you start researching them and they're always on your mind. You'll start getting little cues and little signs that they are present while you're doing the research. Again, they're pure consciousness. So they can tell when a frequency, your frequency is tapping in to theirs. Okay, we're dealing with totally the energy of the mind, energy of thoughts, because thoughts are things. This is where the spiritual realm is present. Okay, so when you start doing your immersion phase, you get to know more about this spirit, and you'll probably start getting little signs that they are watching you or looking at you, or they showing you signs that they are there. Okay, this is a time when you surround yourself with imagery relating to this spirit and study every detail you can about it. The reason for this is the law of vibration. Most be must be observed according to the law of vibration. When we wish to draw something to us, we must put out the identical vibration. Immersion is the most effective way to release vibrations that are concurrent with the spirit you wish to contact. Okay, this is why it's so easy to contact your ancestors and reach out to them because you're on that same vibration and frequency. And with your elevated ancestors, people have problems because it's easy for you to talk to family members because y'all was on that lower vibration, but with the elevated ancestors they're going to make your communication clearer. They're going to require you to do some healing. After all, when we're talking about elevated ancestors, we're talking about these people that were deemed as saints. Some of them are angels. You have some ancestors that have angelic and saint like qualities. So they vibrate a little higher. They're on a healthier frequency than a lot of your family. Okay? They're going to be on a higher frequency than your family. Anyone have any questions right now about what we're talking about? Okay? Anybody have any questions? This is your time to ask questions right now. And for some of you, you're just beginning your journey. Give yourself time enough to unfold. Some of you are having spirit communication. You're asking yourself questions. This is more of an unfolding than anything, and it's very subtle. That's why it's very important that that we get our mind and our spirit together so we can really recognize these cues as well. And working on your vibration is really going to help you. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Immersion is the most effective way to release vibrations that are concurrent with the spirit you wish to contact. Therefore, it is advised that you spend at least 30 days or immersion before beginning spirit work. As you become accustomed to the spirit work, and especially as you develop a relationship with the spirits, you work with frequently, this immersion can become shorter and shorter until it's no longer necessary to make a solid connection. Another aspect of immersion cycle is offering cycle. Okay, so again, it is a process. Go through the motions. Just the more you sit there with your ancestors and you give them offerings, and the more you learn more about spiritual communication with your ancestors and learn the type of ancestors, just learn as much as you can about ancestors, the better things are going to get because you're immersing, you're learning. This is why I got you reading. This is why I got you, studying. This is why I got you healing. Yeah, this is work. Ain't nobody doing this without doing no work. I know what they showing you. This is more than magic. You actually have to put in some work. And this is where some people try to take a shortcut, and which ends up jacking them up. Question: if a person wanted to begin hoodoo, where to start? I recommend it. I have a lot of book reviews here, but they should be starting with protection and cleansing and healing and ancestral veneration. That's what they be starting at. Their ancestor veneration should be popping off, cleansing, protection, and healing. Shouldn't be doing no spells, not right off the bat. You don't have any ashe build up. You don't have enough ash, you don't have any spirit friends. So we really don't know how that work is going to stay clear. Is it going to really work? You're gambling. It's like playing Russian roulette every time you do a spell without the support of your ancestors, support of your guardian angel or your some archangels or saints. You're just taking a gamble when you do that. You ain't did a divination, but you're doing a spell. I mean, it's just I don't want to do stuff like that. Cause I don't. It just take. Cause that's more work I have to go back and do, and I don't like doing it. I need to know it's gonna work the first time. I'm doing divination. I'm gonna talk to them ancestors. I'm gonna be opening my mouth. I'm just not gonna be doing. I don't care what nobody spell they showing. I'm going to ask my spirits, cause people say and show you anything, and I don't. From my experience, I don't trust people. I trust these spirits over here, okay? I don't trust no people because people, this is all about, gaining your energy and manipulating energy. So if you want to take that risk, you go right ahead. But I don't rock like that. I think to begin hoodoo, you must start learning the origin of hoodoo and the pain of our ancestors. Absolutely. Because when you start doing, you get over there with them ancestors, that's what you're going to be learning. When you start doing the healing work and you see all that intergenerational trauma that you carrying up in you, you definitely gonna have an experience. And people are leaving that out. If somebody's steady showing you hoodoo and they shit is steady showing you spells and they have not talked about the healing that you're not gonna be do. I'm sorry, beloved. I just, I'm so sorry that it's being presented like that because so many people is getting in my box because they have crossed themselves up doing spells, or trying to throw work at somebody else, they're in the middle of spiritual warfare and ain't an ancestor in sight because they chose to put people in pots and do all this kind of stuff and did not develop relationships with these spirits. And now they messed up. And when you are doing this, especially when we're doing it to each other, going engaging. I just want to do it, put a hex on somebody, and then I'll listen. We're doing this to each other in the practice. You are reenacting generational trauma in our bloodline, giving us more work to do. So you might as well put this down if you're going to keep doing that. We're supposed to be using it to heal the bloodline, not and fight the adversary, not on each other like that. You're damaging and corrupting the practice. I gotta be absolute clear. You probably get mad. I don't care. You should think twice about doing justice work that's frivolous because you ain't got your emotions and your mind together. You jealous, you petty, you all that stuff. you're going to get yourself crossed up and messed up and be used by the wrong spirit. That's what's going to happen to you. Now, I don't care what you see these people up here doing, because it's popular to talk about this. But you go ahead, because I'm having to fix people. And you know what? Most of them people can't even book a reading because they so crossed up. Them spirits got them crossed up so bad. Them spirits got them bound. Okay, because they don't want them to get better. I see I've had two or three. It never fails. It never fails. The people that, and when I offer the help, because they know they're gonna have to do the work. Man, them spirits inside them know that. And they're so unaware because they didn't take time to spiritually develop. They don't know that these spirits is preventing them from, you know, really healing. And most of these people, they want you to help them free, because they've been jumping from uh from practitioner to practitioner online, gaining a little information for free and not really putting in the work in the practice. That's gonna get you when you follow people. If that practitioner is jumping in the box and telling you, answering question in their DM, don't trust that. Because I'm not gonna answer a question or nothing for you until you book a reading. Because I don't know you. I don't know what you telling me. I need to be face to face and be talking to these spirits with you and seeing what you need to do. I'm not going to give you answers through a DM. So don't even test me or try me. If you don't book a reading to help you, then I don't know what to tell you. If you're not in our community, you know, I can't help you. Okay, but you will see this happen. And I've seen a lot of practitioner, a lot of people that's practicing this, they're learning from videos and following other people instead of slowing down, developing a relationship with their ancestors, healing and stuff, and letting it unfold. It would be much better like that. And you're still in survival mode, you haven't done with any intergenerational trauma, you're still trying to do magic out of survival, your nervous system is shot to hell, it's not gonna work. You're gonna be crossed up, and you'll be coming to me to fix you. And I've seen it. I've seen it. I'm not making it up. I've seen spirits on people, and I'm telling them to do it. And these spirits got such a grip on these people, they come up with excuses. They've been doing everything else, but when it's time to heal and all this stuff, these people will come up with all type of excuses why they can't do it. I am not lying. And I have to blatantly tell them it is the spirit on you. Of course, you don't want to do it because you like being dysfunctional. That's the spirit that you're working with. So, of course, it's not going to sound good to you. That's your problem. You've been bamboozled. You've been manipulated by this spirit. I see it. Okay. That's why I tell you to slow down. I don't appreciate people coming up here showing you spells. I don't appreciate people not giving you full disclosure about this practice. They're showing you all flashy, glitzy stuff and all that. No, you got work to do, beloved. The magic is there, but in order to uncover the magic properly, you must do the work. The ancestors, they want to see you heal. They want to see you whole. You're going to be so proud of yourself if you do it the proper way. And I know you don't want to hear that because a lot of these people is lazy and raggedy and they want something to be handed to you. And I assure you, it will not be handed to you. You can go ahead and try it that way if you want to. You'll be booking a reading with me soon. I'll be helping you. Yeah. Go ahead and do it the way you think you think you better than anybody else and ain't nothing wrong with you. Do it that way if you want to. I'll be seeing you soon. Okay? Do all the spells you want to do. Go ahead and cross yourself up the way you want to. Do it. I'll holler at you soon. Okay, because a lot of us don't want to do no work. You don't want to sit down, you want to slow down, you want something fast. No, it's not gonna happen like that. And I apologize if that doesn't feel good. It's just the way it is. Okay? It's structure to this. It's levels to this. You will have to develop a relationship with yourself, with God and your ancestors. That has to happen. You will have to understand why hoodoo is the way it is. And that's going to force you to look at that intergenerational trauma. Okay, just got in a long time. Okay. During this cycle, you will check your research notes and things that your spirit likes and gather them together to make offerings to the spirit. Offers can be a very long and detailed ritual, or they can be rather quick, efficient rituals. During the immersion phase, however, it is best to take a middle ground approach. What I mean by this is that while your offerings does not have to be an hour-long ritual, it should be more than placing items on a dish and leaving it on the altar. Would you talk about this? Do not walk away. Do not put offerings out for these spirits and not sit there and meditate and try to tap into the energy. There will be mediumship, psychic information going on. You're going to be a medium when you start communicating with these spirits. So if you are scared of spirits, and no, it's not going to always be like Hollywood and all that, depending on your psychic abilities, strength. But it's not going to be like you see on Hollywood. You will have to sit there and start trying to open your mind to communicate with the spirit. You are not going to be able to properly communicate with these spirits if you have not did any shadow work, intergenerational trauma healing, and connecting, did any type of ancestral healing. That's going to block you. That needs to be done because you need to know if this fear, trauma, and stuff going on, or is it a spirit? If you still got fear, I'm going to go to hell and all that, then this is not going to work. That's why I got you healing. That's why I got you doing shadow work. That's why I got you looking at intergenerational trauma, dispelling all that crap up out of you. Can you still read birth charts without the birth time? I'd rather not do it. Do it, but I'd rather not do that. But the more specific you can be with your time of birth, the better it's gonna be. I don't, I don't recommend it. I do it, but I guess I want it to be precisely right. I can do it if, especially if they tell me if they's born in the morning, the evening, or late afternoon, then I can do it. That helps a little bit, but it's the better they can be precise with the time, the better it'll be. Okay. Arrange your temple, altar, or working space and the things that the spirit likes. These are appropriate colors, metals associated with the spirit, shapes, and images that correspond to the spirit, and candles of the appropriate scent and color. So when you start working with angels and some of these spirits, because the saints are like that too, even some of the planetary energies and deities, they have specific colors, metals, stones that attract them to the altar. That's just like the other day. Tripped me out because I didn't know this. See what happens when you start working with your, and I was working with my ancestors, working with this angel. And they said, put your obsidian dagger up there on that altar in front of him so he'll know what to do. He likes that. And I didn't know it was right. I put it up there anyway, and come to find out, this particular angel loves obsidian. And see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that at first. I was just listening to my ancestors when they told me to do it. I didn't question it. I always follow them. When they tell me to do something, I just do it. Because most times it's going to be right, even if I don't understand it. And I didn't know that. But come to find out, this particular angel loves obsidian. It attracts them to the altar. Okay, so they have their different metals, their stones, and things like that. We have plenty of angel books out there. You need to be able to get acquainted. These are the safest relationships for you to develop and start seeing shifts and changes in yourself. I'm not going to stop saying it. I don't care what other people are saying. I'm trying to help you. Now you can go the other way you want to and get egotistical and try to go out here in these spiritual streets and thinking that you're doing something without spiritual wisdom and guidance. I just don't recommend it for you. I don't know, sweetie. I don't know where you'll have to get that, I don't know. You'll have to ask some questions in the family. You would just have to ask questions. I don't know. I've read many people without their time. They can tell me whether they was born in the morning, the evening, or the afternoon or something like that. And I've just tried to do it to the best of my ability. But I never really feel good about doing it, but I do it. Okay. I don't have an answer for that. Okay. So again, again, they're gonna have their own thing. So make sure you put things on that table to attract them. If you're going to be working with these angels, and you're going to see this, you got your angel book in there too, Working Magic with Angels. Great book by Silver Raven Wolf. Breaks down the rituals, even show you how to, your structure of your rituals. You need to be reading that book as well as Consorting with Spirits. Because some of this information is out of Consorting with Spirits. Be, kind of looking at those books. That's what we're going to be. This is the spirit work behind Hoodoo. I know what they telling you. They telling you a spell doing it. But at the same time, they telling you that this is an ancestral spiritual practice while not talking about the ancestors. Ancestors help me now. I ain't gonna get on my soapbox. I'm gonna keep it pushing. You said something that resonate with something the ancestors had me do today. You had me lay face down in my yard, and I don't know why, but I did it. They'll have you doing. You won't even know why you're doing it until later you find. Then they'll tell you later why you did it. That's how my ancestors work with me, and I used to get upset about that. And they say, "Hey, hey, we know you like to look up everything and all that stuff. We teaching you different. We teaching you trust. Don't quit. No, we're teaching you trust. Don't get on to us. Sometimes we don't want you to know, and we show you later because we're teaching you trust. We know what we're doing." And you will see that. So if you have uncertainty, and I think this is the most, and all you beginners out there, let me inspire you. Trust the process. It's going to be beautiful. Trust the process. I know it's going to be moments of uncertainty there. I know, and it's supposed to be there because you're learning to trust yourself and you're learning to trust your ancestors. You're not going to have all the answers. That's okay. Okay, that's okay. You're not here. It's not about having all the answer. It's about the journey, learning to trust your spirit, your ancestors, and your intuition. It's building your ashe and making your magic that much more better. Okay, I get a lot of people, even when I give you your chart, I gave somebody their chart, and I'm gonna share this with you guys. I gave somebody their chart, and the answer, they had beautiful things in their chart, but they couldn't see that. They couldn't see their purpose in the chart. They was like, I'm not this, I'm not that. But yet when he shared with me, he was like, well, you know what? I am a mentor for the people here at Blase Blase. And I was like, oh my God, the ancestors have already trained you, but you're not looking at it like that because you have so many blocks. But see, you thinking small. Okay, you think it's small. You still got a ways to go on your journey. You just beginning your journey. You don't know how things are going to unfold. I had the same thing happen to me. I went to go see a psychic, Carol Pate. uh she has done a lot of missing cases for the ID channel. She's done a lot of missing cases in our community in Arkansas. And so I remember going to her and her telling me, she said, "You're going to do this same kind of work." I said, "No, I'm not." Little, I was already researching. I was already researching and reading a lot of metaphysical books. I was already playing with tarot cards. Okay. But yet when she told me this, I couldn't see it. You know what? I did not believe it when that woman told me that. And look at me now. And when that happened, I was around 34 years old. I'm 53 now. Yeah. I didn't believe it when that woman told me that. I could not see it, but look at me now. Okay? So you'll be surprised. It won't make sense to you then, but when your life start unfolding and you stay on your path, things will start to unfold and you'll see it was right all the time. They were right all the time. So just because you can't see it and it's not happening right now doesn't mean it's not going to unfold that way. I do a lot of people try it and they be like, I don't see that. I don't know. Okay. All right, keep on living, baby. You just started your journey. You just keep on living and you see how your ancestors going to lead you. Okay? See how they going to lead you. Okay? And and I did not see it, y'all, but here I am. I ran from this, but here I am. Okay? I looked at that woman and told that woman even refused to stop seeing me. She told me don't come back there no more because I do the same thing. And I was mad at that woman. Okay? So when I give you back your chart, it may not. That's why I tell you to sit with your chart. Sit with it. Get in alignment with it. Okay? Sit with it. It may take a while. And I guarantee you, if you're following that chart within 10 to 20 years, you're going to look back at that chart and say, that woman told me this. And it really happened. That woman told me that's probably what you're going to say, looking back in hindsight. I sat for over an hour saying, now, that ain't what I'm supposed to do, is it? But yeah, it was what they said. Okay? They probably got you connecting to the land. It could be a number of things they have you doing. They had me connected with the land, just going out there talking to the land. Like I said, I felt like a shaman or something. Of course, your space can contain more than these things, and it can contain less. But if it should contain at least three correspondent settings that the spirit will enjoy. Once your space is prepared for the offering, bring out your offering dish and place your offerings up on it. Now, a lot of people ask, how do I discard these offerings? I get that a lot. I don't live near a crossroad. Okay, it's different ways that you can do this. Usually, if I discard offerings, I don't just throw it in the trash. I put it in some type of bag separate from the trash so it doesn't get damaged by any of the other garbage in there. Okay, I rarely ever take an offering to a crossroad. You can also make a crossroad. You know, you could put a dish in a crossroads by if if you got the right dirt. You can take dirt from a crossroad and set up a sort of like a crossroad dish and put the offering in the middle of that crossroads. So you could do it. You could be as creative as you want to. If you can't get to a crossroad, you will have to make one. If that's something that that you're wanting to do. But many times I'm not going to a crossroad because I don't stay near a crossroad. It's very far. So I don't stay near a crossroad, so I can't do that. So I politely am careful how I discard it. It goes in a separate paper bag. Hello, Daniel Neal. Okay, so I get those questions all the time. So don't worry about if you can't get to a crossroads. Simply, put it in a discard it in a very safe manner. I make sure I put it in a separate bag and then throw it in the trash so it's not contaminated by other things. And I'll go more into that if you were in our community. I just can't share that here because the information is closed. Okay. But I will share it at the meetings. If you're in our meeting, I share it there. Of course, your space can contain more than these things. Okay, this correspondent. Once your space is prepared for the offering, bring out your offering dish, place it up on there. It's also appropriate to set a special candle for the spirit as an offering, as well as to light incense, but this is up to you and whether or not you wish to make these parts of your offerings. These can also be the main offering itself, as some spirits prefer incense or the setting of lights to food, drink, or other offerings. This will depend upon your own discretion as well as your previous research. I like putting candles out there, incense, doing the whole just as much as I can put out there to attract the spirits to the table. Okay. And of course, if you're in our community, you're going to get books on each spirit. You're going to know how to work with them and what to set out. I, I try to be as detailed as possible when you're working with saints, when you're working with angels, and when you're working with ancestors. You're definitely going to get a lot of information on ancestors and angels. And I think we have a full book, a full encyclopedia of saints where we break down saints as well. Okay. So you're going to be thoroughly educated on that. As you as you consistently perform your offerings during the immersion phase, you will find yourself being drawn more and more to the spirit you are working with. And you will see the spirit begin to manifest in your life. That's what you're going to see with your ancestors. The more you get there and you talk there and you give offerings and stuff like that, the more that you're going to start seeing them it's going to trip you out. It's going to trip you out. You ain't going to be doing no spells. They'll just start working stuff, fixing your life, and you didn't even ask them to do it. Okay, so you will, and you have people in my community say, "Oh, I talked to my ancestors. I feel so much better." They just love talking to their ancestors. They're not interested in the spells. You got people like that. They just talk to their ancestors. They like be fixed. They're not interested in no spells. They don't want to do nothing but read their psalms, talk to their ancestors, and maybe listen to some gospel music. That right and heal. That right there is enough to fix their life. You got some people like that. Okay. And you'll find yourself, you won't, because once you get this relationship with spirit and you putting the offerings out there, you won't be doing a lot of spells because everything's are falling in alignment. They would be very rare. For anything, you'll probably be trying to, meet another spirit that can help you and start giving offerings there. Spells are nothing. Let me be more specific about spells. You'll see it. That's why you see our ancestors call them tricks. They're more like tricks. When you can build up enough ashe and work with these spirits, you can do tricks. You'll know how to shift things. That's what you're going to hear it called a lot is tricks. But this spirit work is the foundation to learning those tricks because your ancestors going to teach you how to do those tricks. I hope that makes sense. But none of it works without the wisdom and guidance of, some of these spirits and your ancestors. That's what I'm trying to get to. I just want to get to know them. I'm so curious. Just be consistent. You'll see little signs. If you're expecting something out of Hollywood, not gonna happen. If you are full of trauma and you're in survival mode, you cannot slow down, then you're missing messages. They are talking, but you're missing messages. Having a divination together, uh, if you just your divination, if you got a divination, that's gonna improve communication as well. You just learn tarot, learn the divination. Communication is going to get better and better. But if you're not consistent and you're not sitting at that altar telling them what's going on with you, then you're going to get little to no feedback. And it's imperative that you're sitting there and that you're meditating, that you're playing music. They love music. They love flowers. Ancestors, they love white carnations and pink carnations. They love flowers. So if you're out there and you're doing that, you can tell when they're present as well. Look at your altar. Is there bubbles in the water? Then they're there. If you see in it that water look like Sprite and it's got a lot of bubbles, air bubbles in it, then the ancestors are there. If that altar, if those flowers, those carnations or flowers are lasting a long time up there, your ancestors is there. That means the ashe is strong. You won't always get bells and whistles. Do a divination. They got plenty of ancestor tarot cards out there, ancestor oracle cards out there, spirit communication tarot cards out there. And so again, start looking for a medium for communication. It ain't gonna always be like you see in Hollywood. You're learning to be a medium. You're learning to communicate with your ancestors. Does this make sense to you guys? And they'll let you know whether it's okay to do a certain workings. And when you have found out enough about, you know, how these energies work, natural energy work, and what's the best day to do a working, what's the best time to do a workings, you'll get better at doing your spell work or doing your tricks. But if you don't understand that, and you're just doing spells frivolous, and you don't understand how this natural energy works and how it enhances the work we do, then you're going to be fishing in the dark. Okay, and it's going to take you slowing down and learning these things. Okay, you will learn to notice these small signs in your life and to know what it is that they mean for you specifically. There is no set interpretation of these signs, so you will have to trust your intuition, and that's where people had the most trouble at. People be asking me questions. I said, "You're asking me about your own intuition, but you don't want to trust it, and now I have to put it back on you. You trust yourself." And that's what the main thing people, because when I hear them asking me questions, I said, "This person don't trust their intuition." And they're just going to have to trust it. And that's where the uncertainty comes at, when you don't learn how to trust your intuition. Because when you're trusting your intuition, you're trusting your ancestors as well. It's ancestors communication. But it will get clear if you're healing. It's part of the reason we didn't trust it, because people tell us we can't talk to no spirit. Them spirits ain't talking to you. Oh, that's evil. Oh, thought they better than me. It's a lot of that going on. It's why you don't want to trust it. Okay. Aside from offerings, another important aspect of immersion phase is meditation. You have to do it, you guys. Trance work or something. There needs to be some trance work going on, or some meditation going on. If you can do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that needs to happen. Okay, we got to get that mind together. The more you can go in your mind and start focusing your mind, the better it's gonna be. If your mind is not you know, not properly being active in this, it's not gonna work. I don't understand that people that come here and show you spells and stuff like this, or practitioners showing you stuff, and they never talk about this. That is a red flag to me. I'm like, now I know you are telling these people they have to heal. You telling these people, all this stuff, but how, 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 how? Don't just tell them that, because it takes some work to get to that place, and a lot of them are not at that place. Okay, and then they have to make some real hard choices about if they're ready to transform and shift and ascend, because there will be some ascension work, because you have to rise to spirit to do this work. We have to have a good relationship with God, relationship with our ancestors, okay, and these spirits. Ain't nobody just out here, and I know I'm not out here just raw dogging it. I'm not gonna do that, because I need help. Okay, I need help. I need the ancestors right beside me, protecting me, guiding me on the work. They got all the wisdom and understanding. I need that. And I'm not out here just doing stuff by myself. I don't recommend that for you either. Okay. Aside from offering, another important aspect of emerging phase is meditation. Can be done in a variety of ways, which are largely at your discretion. However, some of the best methods of meditation on the symbol of the spirit, the chanting of spirit's name as a mantra. Now, a lot of things too, I've caught myself listening to certain music and it sends me into the meditative state. Now, maybe that'll help you. If you can, if it music or whatever sends you into a meditative space, or I know gospel music doing to me, do it for me as well. Especially if it's in alignment with my intention, that will help as well. Whichever method you prefer or both, if you choose to practice both, perform the meditation at least once a day during your immersion cycle. Okay, like the offering cycle, meditation will bring you into alignment with the spirit you are working with. And that's what we want. You have some practitioners, I like getting up in the morning, started with prayer and addressing my ancestors right off the bat. I start with prayer, affirmations right off the bat, and start addressing my ancestors. That's going to keep me connected to them. This is going to take some discipline on your side and being intentional. And the more consistent you can be in this, the more balance and peace you're going to find in your life. And it's going to be easier for you to talk with your ancestors. An important aspect to remember during the emergent phase is that some spirits do not get along with others. I just talked about that. The wrong combination of spirits can, it can be a hindrance, okay, and sometimes fatal to the practitioner. Because what happens when you get too many altars put up? I'm gonna say this again, and some of you have already heard this, and I'm sorry to repeat it. But when you get too many altars and you working with too many spirits at one time, and you haven't spiritually developed, you might seem like you're being bombarded by a whole bunch of voices in your mind. You might be confused, it might be cloudy because you did not do the proper development to really foster a relationship with these spirits. Okay? So be careful. I know, and you know, people end up and they start erecting all these altars. Think for a minute now, this is consciousness. And you don't know how each spirit communicates. So now you got several spirits in your mind communicating with you, giving you telepathic messages. And because you don't understand their energy and what spirit is talking, you don't know your voice from generation of trauma up in there. That's gonna send you into a psychosis. Okay, I'm not telling you nothing I think. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know and what I have experienced. I've had to help people try to get that stuff lined out. And most people, when I start telling them, uh, okay, get rid of some of these altars. You got take that away. They are because they have these unhealthy connection with these spirits. They are taken back. They're just like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm like, you're gonna have to do it to get yourself back together because you didn't properly, develop these relationships. You can do this later. Not like you can come let them know why you're taking it down, you're getting yourself together, and you will be talking to them later. But you have to start from, and sometimes that's needed. Okay. So keep that in mind. If sometimes the ancestors enough until they give you consent to work with another spirit. Try not to do that on your own. Try not to be swayed by social media or what you see on here. Stay true to yourself. It doesn't matter what other people, what other people are doing. It is about you, your journey, and what you're doing. What's good for them may not be good for you. Okay, do not be swole. Do not be mesmerized by these other people because I'm seeing a lot of this going on, and it's just not full disclosure. And this is nothing to play with if you don't understand how spirits communicate and interact with you. Aside from the emergent phase, one more important thing to remember is that the spirits, like people, have their own personality, habits, and lives. They are not simply beings from another realm that exist to serve your every wish. This is a vital aspect of spirit work and should not be forgotten. A good analogy for this is if you were to walk up to a random person and ask for $100, they would likely tell you no. But if you approach a friend and ask for $100, they're more inclined to loan you the money, but they will expect you to pay it back. But if you were to approach your best friend or your ancestors and ask for $100, they will be likely to give you the money plus extra. That's why we want a relationship with our ancestors. That's okay. If you're with your ancestors, the only thing you got to do is start talking and telling them what's going on with your life and what you're trying to do. And before you know it, things will start unfolding. I've seen them do it. Like, I didn't ask you to do that. They say, we know because we love you, want to fix this for you. Okay, we heard you when you was talking. So we fixed this for you. You said this will make it better. So we made it better for you. You'll just have your ancestors doing stuff like that. Okay, the more consistent and then you have some people, they give offerings, they do their daily offerings and then they do their weekly offerings. And then you have some people when they do rituals to their ancestors, they do a monthly ritual where they go all out and buy all these fruits and vegetables and bake cakes and just have a big feast for their ancestors. Some people do that for spirits, and spirits love that. Okay, some people they go all out. You've seen them at these big altars. They have all these beautiful fruits and vegetables and cakes and all this stuff sitting out for the spirits to enjoy. And spirits love to be, they love to be wooed like that, especially with flowers and candles and big spreads like that. So you'll see uh people do that as well. Okay, especially seasoned practitioners. And that's certainly an option you can think of as you grow on your practice. Okay. And sometimes you'll see that too when a person is working with a particular spirit. Say that you hired someone to do some work for you. Okay. Say you hired someone to do some work for you. And they say, hey, all right, we'll do the work, but I'm going to charge you $500 to do your work. And you're thinking in your mind, wait a minute, $500 to do this work? What are you doing? What are you doing? But if you talk with a seasoned practitioner, they'll say this is what the spirit require. Some of these spirits, in order for the practitioner to petition the spirit, they require a big spread offering to do the work for them. Yeah. It's an offering going to that spirit to do the work for you. So not only are you having paying them to do the work, which you think is a spell, you're paying them to petition the spirit, and and you're paying for the offering to the spirit to do the work for you. And some practitioners will tell you that I have to pay the spirit. I can't. That this is what the spirit required because they have to buy. Same thing when you do with Ifa. You go to the spirit for somewhere that spirit it needs a specific offering. It might want a chicken, it may want a goat, it may want a rooster. Same thing happens when you start working with some of these spirits. Does that make sense? Did I lose anyone? You think they're doing a spell, but most of it, you're gonna see this in voodoo, these protocols in voodoo, and you're gonna see it in Ifa. They're not doing a spell, they're doing an offering to the spirit and petition them to do the work. And what the spirit require, they may tell them, hey, I'm gonna need 3 goats, 5 chickens, some cantaloupe, some watermelon, some flowers to do this. And once you get in the offering, they fix it. That's how it works. I'm not ain't explaining to you like that, but that's what's going on here. And you have some angels like that too. You have to set they altar up with certain things they like on there. They might like honey, they might want flowers, they might want cakes, or they might want you to give to a charity. They might want you to take the money and give it to a charity and help somebody. Yeah, this spirit, that's how they work. And you want to be careful about some of these spirits too, because I tell people, do a divination before you help these people. Because if you help these people and they not right, and this spirit knows that, it can mess you up with your spirits, because your spirit's gonna be like, how dare you bring that regular person on my altar and they just lied to you. No, I'm not doing that work. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna work with you no more because I can't trust you. That's why you want to do a divination. Okay, because that'll get you wrong with these spirits. Especially if some of them are saints, and some of your spirits are angels, and you got elevated ancestors. That's what I say. You can't be doing nothing raggedy. That'll mess you up with some of your spirits. Now I don't know if you working with other spirits. I don't know. That I'm speaking from you, from the perspective where I work. You got some people that they work with, they're conjurers, and they work with uh they work with demons, and they work with spirits that will just about do any type of work. You got some people like that too. Okay, I just heard a practitioner say when he do, I think he was in the ATR, was that Santo? He worked with the spirits of the dead. Okay, he wasn't working with living ancestors. He was working with dead ancestors, and and there's a difference. He was breaking it down. And so he was talking about, he said, I would like, when I get a spirit in my foe, in his system, he don't want a perfect human spirit. No, he wants some kind of one of them rowdy ancestors, them ancestors that were kind of violent. Them ancestors did what they had to do to get the job done. He said he preferred them not to be perfect. He preferred, them that don't mind getting their hands dirty. They have to be a little dirty. He like a little dirt on the spirit. He don't want no perfect spirit. He need a spirit that's gonna do what he needs to do and not be, hung up and so much on other stuff. Okay. Not to say that it was wrong. He's a seasoned practitioner that works for him. Okay. I don't prefer that for you until you are seasoned and you know how to handle yourself, and your ancestors, have trained you for that. Okay. But there's people, I'm not going to say that don't exist, but we're not practicing it that way. We're taking a healthy approach to keep you safe. Okay. I spent 1,000 for others to do work for me, and my life has changed, but a little. You know, if you do the work on your own, that's why I don't recommend it. A lot of these people, I don't believe now. I think there's so many. I believe there's good people out here that know the work and they can do it, but it's so saturated by people that don't know what they're doing, that claim they know what they're doing. So you have to be careful out there. And this happened during the COVID. People that you ain't been through nothing. You just woke up and you saw you can make money off this, and you put on the aesthetics, and now you think you. That's what's happening to a lot of them. It's just a lot of aesthetic, a lot of this fast, fancy talk, and no experience or wisdom in them. Okay, no experience or wisdom. They haven't had any experience. They haven't lived long enough to gain any wisdom or experience. So now they out here, I don't know what to say about that. I'm not trying to bash anyone, but that's what I've seen. That's my experience. Okay, my biggest blockage has been trusting my intuition, going against it, and has gotten me into a huge mess in the past. Moving forward, I have been testing the different from my intuition and ego. Yep, keep doing it. I hope you're healing with that. Please be healing with that, because you'll get better with that. And I would recommend a divination as well. Test your intuition. Do a divination and see, am I right or am I wrong? That'll help you trust it too. Get a pendulum. Ask for signs sometimes. That'll help you as well. And by all means, a lot of us are in survival mode. Slow down and heal so you can trust it better. It can be louder. Okay. You cannot call the yeah, here we go. This is because the relationship of you two that the two of you share. Spirits work the same way. You cannot call a spirit for the first time and expect they will simply manifest your desires as you command them. That doesn't work. Magicians tried, and that get them in a lot of trouble. That spirit gonna be mad trying to conjure them and demand, because that's how they do in these books. Do not follow these conjuration in these books, y'all. Do not you get these do not follow those conjuration in books. I demand you to be right here now. I command you to get in this circle. I demand. When you be mad at somebody can call you like that for 12 hours, you're going to be mad as hell. That's just like your kids calling your name, mama, 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 mama. When you turn around, you're going to be like, what? What? So they're agitated. So do not use those methods. Okay? The occult, they do this, you know, and you can read in their fancy little books, they in there, and they have an adversity experience, and then they blame it on the spirit. Well, that spirit did that spirit. Well, look how you called them. You weren't nice about it. You thought they was gonna be nice when they showed up. No, you act like they're not human. They don't have personalities. Yeah, they're gonna be pissed off if you're calling them like that. So please do not use the methods that you see in a lot of these books. For those of you that are learning to work with spirits, that's not how we do it. Go look at the Catholic method and see how they do it, or the Hindu methods, because the Hinduisms, they use pujas as well. The Hinduism looks just like voodoo. They use the tables and methods as well to contact with spirits. But that's a good method as well. So if you want to learn that, look at those methods, look at those invocations and prayers. We do not conjure, we do not demand. So don't try to do it that way. Okay? A relationship needs to be built. This is the point of the immersion phase. Not only does it bring you into the alignment with the spirit, but it also lays the groundwork for powerful relationship. Bear this in mind when you begin your spirit work. You do not neglect the relationship you will build. Your magic will improve to be very effective. Now, the one thing I learned about angels, you'll think nothing is going on. Be like, did they contact me? Did they do that? But what you'll start learning about them, your thoughts will get so much clearer. Some of your behavior and stuff will start to change. You start getting better. You'll be in a better mood. You'll start feeling better. Just like with people with their ancestors, that's like, I feel better since I talked to my ancestors. You're gonna feel better. That is a sign. I think with most of us, I think a lot of us are clairsentient. Hope I got the right clear. I think that we're feeling. I get this a lot. I feel better though. I feel like something happened to me. I feel so much better. I feel something shifted. That's a first indication that your everything is starting to positively shift for you, especially when you start taking your spiritual baths and talking to your ancestors. You're probably going to start feeling better because you're releasing a lot of this energy. You're developing a relationship with water. You had to talk to that water, pray over that water. You telling your ancestors how you need to be healed. You're going to start feeling better if you're doing this work. And even that's showing a shift. And then you might start having these aha moments, or these moments of enlightenment, you know, where you have this awakening happen. And you're probably going to start having a lot of those moments. We want that to happen. That means that you're ascending and spiritual communication is coming through. Okay. But the biggest part of this, and I wish I could take that from you guys, because and you just touched my little heart when you're on your, because I understand when you're telling me, Miss Penny, I did this and I heard this voice and I wasn't really sure, but I did this and I did that. And I just hope I'm doing the right thing. And what do you think? And I'm like, I think you're doing the right thing, but I still feel, I still sense some uncertainty in you. And I be wanting to take that out of you and let you know you're doing the right thing. Okay. It's, this walk with spirit is, it can be a little difficult because we're having to trust something that we can't see. And for the first time, we're trusting our intuition when the world tried to tell us we were crazy and that it don't exist. Okay, so that's not uncommon. No reason to doubt yourself or think that you're going crazy or thinking any less. This is just the path, and you have to learn how to trust it. Okay, just like somebody they severed us from away from our true self, so we're getting that back. So be patient and loving with yourself. And spend a lot of time resting. I want you resting. When you start this spiritual communication, it does, you think it doesn't burn energy, but it really does. Lay down and rest. The more rest you get, the more you slow down, the better you're going to get. Not by doing more. Okay? Make sure that you're resting, especially if you're doing a lot of healing, uh, and you're doing some spiritual development. Make sure that you're resting and staying out of chaos and drama. Okay? I can't recommend emphasize that to you enough. Greater spirits can be said to be spirits such as deities, the names of God, which have taken on their own aspects. Even well known beings such as demons of the lesser key of Solomon or the archangels. We work with them a lot. We will be doing a lot of Solomonic magic in here. Uh, we will be working with some Goetic spirits with that talking about the lesser key of Solomon. You will go over there. We really go over that when you go into conjure. That's when you're seasoned. You got a good foundation with your ancestors, these angels. So now you are ready to work with other spirits. These beings are considered to be greater because they are most more potent and have further reach than the lesser spirits. The greater spirits are called on frequently and are very well known. This gives them a great deal of influence over our world because we allow them to, due to their reputation. Now you see a lot of people they'll go to working with these with planetary magic. And yes, our ancestors they use planetary magic as well. They would work with Jupiter, they would work with Mercury, they would work with Mars. Okay, this is one reason why they were keeping the almanac. They were very aware of that. Lesser spirits, on the other hand, are spirits such as the shades of the dead, spirits of nature, most created spirits. So we do a lot of that. That's root work, a lot of root work, a lot of working with angels, a lot of working with saints. These are called lesser spirits because they're more specific and they get the job done. Okay, they are very direct, especially nature spirits. That's why I tell people be more specific about what you need done when you're doing your work. Don't try to make this a all around. I had somebody send me a petition and it's about 5 or 6 things they wanted. I'm like, okay, this is gonna burn slow, and the candle burns slow too. Be specific. Okay, you might have to, do break things down and do them separately for them to be effective because these energies are more effective when you are more specific because they specialize, some of them specialize in certain things. That's just like with some angels. I work with this angel, I have to go work with, and some of them do have a variety of things, but if they're more specific, if you go to them with a more specific problem, then that they can help you with it, rather than trying to have them help you with all this stuff, and they're not designed for that. Does that make sense? I hope I haven't lost you. If we be trying to get a whole bunch in one petition, don't try to do that. You're gonna slow down your work, and it's not gonna be as effective. Make sure you're breaking down your work and you're planning it out instead of trying to get all the work done on one petition. Don't do that. Okay, you're not gonna get that much success doing that. These spirits are not well known as the greater spirits and are generally not as powerful. However, these lesser spirits often specialize in one of the few areas. In these areas, their strength can be said to surpass the greater spirits. They are. So don't you think just because it's not Ogun, it's not Persephone, or it's not one of these deities that these lesser spirits can't do it. Yes, they can. Especially when it comes to the Eagle Goon and the Getty. They are powerful. They're not in that ATR for nothing. Okay, don't you think they can't get it done? They are power. I done seen it with my own eyes, and my mouth just be open. So don't you think that And a lot of people think that they think that they can go work with Oshun and Ogun. That's going to be more powerful than their ancestors. Not really, not necessarily. In fact, a lot of these spirits, and these are ancestral spirits. Okay, they were once living people. So you got a lot of them. They not gonna really gonna work with you or rock with you if you ain't got no relationship with your ancestors. They might not even move. Now it'll be different if you got your ancestor veneration together and you said, I want to work with Ogun. Do you think I should work with them? They might say yeah, or they might say, no, we don't want you to do that. We want you to work with this spirit. Listen, stop trying to do what you want to do because you don't understand the spiritual realm. Stop thinking you know because you don't. You don't. Ask them first. Don't just go out there and do things on your own. You can do it that way if you want to. I would don't recommend it. You may think that they're more powerful than your ancestors. No. Your communication is going to be more effective and more clear if you ask your ancestors to set it up. It really will. They'll be telling you what to say and how to work with that spirit. They'll be telling you things. That's just like when I was working with that angel. I made sure they knew because I said I'm going to work with him. And says they said, yeah, because you're gonna have to do this work because this person they think they're getting away with stuff, so you're gonna have to do this work. And so when I talked to them, they gave me the okay to do it. And they the one told me to take that because the obsidian dagger is usually on their altar. They said, no, take it over there and put it in front of him. He liked that. Now, did I know he liked that? No, I didn't know that. But I wouldn't have known that if the ancestors didn't tell me to take that and put it in front of that altar where the candle was burning. I wouldn't have known that. This is why you need spiritual help. Okay? They're helping me work with this angel. They were helping me. They help you work with other spirits, so don't dismiss that. It all work together. It ain't separate. I don't care what these people telling you. Okay? I don't care what these people tell you. A funky pair of lips will say anything. And most of these people, some of them, they don't have the experience. And if somebody's up here is sharing this stuff with you and they're just not giving you full disclosure on how this works, and then you take it and run with it, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I don't recommend you do it. It's just no clarity with it. It's no full disclosure. So keep that in mind, beloved. Keep yourself safe. Okay. Let's see. However, these lesser spirits often specialize in one or more few areas. In these areas, their strength can be said to surpass greater spirits. So just because it's an ancestor, I've seen them do it. I've seen the ancestors do something, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, they did it the other day. They did it the other day." They said, "We got you. It's coming. It's coming." I said, "What's coming?" All of a sudden, somebody sent me a big lump sum of money. I said, "Oh my God." All of a sudden, other stuff started happening. I said, "Oh my God, now you're just showing off. You're just, oh my God, I'm so grateful. You just, oh my God, you're showing off." I've seen them do it. So don't think I'm telling you, the ancestors are mighty. They do what they want to do. So you think I wouldn't trade the experience for nothing in the world. I'm glad I do have this relationship, but they would show I out. I've seen them show out. I had to say that yesterday. I said, now you're just showing out. Now you're just showing off now. I think it's cute. I like it. Okay? They will do it. I've been learning a lot from you from the past week. You're welcome. Okay? Don't dismiss them. Please don't ask me that because you're not going to get an answer. I recommend you book a reading. That requires a reading, what you're putting in the chat. Book a reading. That's going to require a reading. I wouldn't dare tell you what to do, how to remove a curse from a child, and I don't know nothing about your child. I don't know nothing about you. I don't know not. I'm not going to do it. Book a reading. Here's my email address if you're serious, if you really want help. There you go. Those, and I get those questions all the time. I have to ask somebody, book a reading, get in our community, because I can't answer that. I wouldn't dare. It would be irresponsible for me to answer that question, and I don't know you. I don't know your son. I don't have any context. I don't have any disclosure. I don't know. So I couldn't properly advise you without that. Okay. And anybody is doing that, giving you information and don't know you and haven't did a reading to see what's going on, they're giving you insight with that. You probably want to question that. Okay. So don't think that your ancestors can't do it. And I think that's what a lot of people do. I just put the email in the chat. I hope you can see it. I just put the email in the chat. You email me and we can start the process. The email is in the chat. Okay. It's showing that it's there. And so again, I don't recommend you get a lot of people, you go, Ogun can do this, Oshun can do this, and you get over there and you're not aligned with no ancestor, not an ancestor inside. In fact, you have left the land that the magic is on to go get initiated somewhere your ancestors ain't never been. And some of you don't think nothing wrong with it. But then you start getting your practice and you start being stagnated. It's not going the way they advertise it and marketed it to you because you tried to bypass and skip a lot of the steps. Or you get over there and realize, hey, I still got to do character work. I still got to do this work before I even work with this spirit. Or you don't even understand the process that got you in a learning phase and you just not sure about where you at. So a lot of these issues come up when people try to bypass the ancestors. And in fact, really, in my opinion, I don't think no anyone should be if they're in the ATR, the first thing they need to be talking about is ancestral veneration. If they're talking about Ogun, if they're talking about if they're sticking to that too much, I would question that because the practice when you go in that practice, you're really going to see how important the ancestors are. If they're doing the practice right, they're going to address those ancestors first before they start popping off calling on Ogun or any other. They're gonna address them ancestors first. That's they're just like they're gonna address the crossroad deity. They're gonna address those ancestors first because the practice wouldn't the practice stands on the shoulders of the ancestors. So question that if they're constantly talking about these deities and not talking about the importance of the ancestors. Okay. So that's more important. You think you're going over there. People think they bypassing ancestors. I'm getting a more powerful God. No, you're not. You ain't doing them playing with yourself. That's what you're doing. Okay, the ancestors are mighty. There's nothing more important. God and the ancestors come first before the religion. You see what I'm talking about? God, I had to grab my head. See what I'm talking about? God and the ancestors come first before the religion. But then you got these religious fanatics that come in here and they go back and forth with each other, and then you miss the whole point. Okay, that is the foundation to all of our practice. Okay, that's just like have trying to have a dessert before you have dinner. Have the dinner first. Enjoy the dinner first before you go on to the dessert. Don't put the cart before the horse. None of your relationship is going to really work with them until you understand your practice and you have a a better relationship with your ancestors and a relationship with God, whatever, with God. Okay, we still believe in God over here. We still working with ancestors over here. That doesn't change. So just because you're not bypassing anything, it's important that you understand this. Because I got some people, then I have people say, "Well, my family was, they was mean to me. They were ugly." We're not talking about your family. We're talking about elevated ancestors. I'm not talking about your family. I'm talking about elevated ancestors. Our family is not elevated ancestors. I'm very clear about that. And until you start reading and studying this for yourself, you're gonna, because people get up here, your ancestors making you think it's just family. No one is breaking it down that ancestors doesn't always mean family member. Okay, Harriet Tubman is an ancestor. Malcolm X is an ancestor. You see where I'm going with this? These were people in our community that had a positive impact on our community. These are our ancestors. That's what we're talking about. We can go on Harriet Tubman, which we're gonna cover that in a minute. That very interesting about Harriet Tubman. I'm gonna drop a little teaser here. Harriet Tubman, you start looking at her. She entered. They have put her in the pantheon of voodoo. Yeah. So not only is she in hoodoo, now she has her own pantheon of spirits in voodoo. We're gonna go over that next month to help you understand that. So now we got voodoo in hoodoo. You see how they just did an interchangeable, but you didn't know that. Now Harriet Tubman is a Loa or a saint within the voodoo pantheon. Yeah, she's an ancestor now. She has her own. She's being recognized as that along with her other spirits. But you didn't know that. It could, and then they telling you voodoo and hoodoo is no, it's not. It's not different. Voodoo don't mean number ancestral spirits. Hoodoo got its own voodoo. Yeah, hoodoo got it. That's why we're working with spirits over here. We're working with ancestral spirits over here. That's voodoo. Don't get it twisted. Don't get this religious stuff twisted because they're talking about initiation. No, voodoo is in hoodoo. You're going to see that when you start working with ancestors, just mean ancestral spirit. That's what that means. I hope I haven't lost you. Okay? I'm going to break it down so you can fully understand and you don't get it twisted. Lesser spirits typically called upon for natural magic. You'll see that in root work when they're working with roots, when they're working with plants and herbs and things. That's more like earth, elemental or earth magic, which we covered that in our community. I break that all down too. More like animism. Okay, as well for things like necromancy. We're doing necromancy. We're not doing anything they wasn't doing in the Bible. We're doing everything that Jesus do and Moses do. We're raising, we're talking to our ancestors. We're not doing anything that we're doing everything that God do and that that Jesus do. We're doing the same thing. Okay, and even baneful magic. We do justice magic. Not so much as baneful, but again, we do if it's justified, we do it. Okay, that's how our ancestors have it set up. You're welcome. Okay, this is due to their areas of specialization, as well as their ease of contact. The next duality we will look at is the duality of dark and light. Of course, light and dark do not equate to good and evil. It doesn't mean that. You got, that's just like, let me go back to this. You got some archangels that'll go in there and they call them evil because they go in there and they bring a certain amount of justice. But it's not like that. They're bringing balance to the universe. They are balancing the energy. Okay, that's just like with Lilith. That's just like with some of these archangels, Samuel. You got some of these angels that can put a fierce whooping on somebody. And you think it's something evil. No. No, it ain't nothing evil. It ain't nothing evil at all. is that you got the certain amount of karma that's on you, and you got that energy on you like that. So it's easier for that spirit to deal with you, to get you together. Now, had that energy not been there, the karma or dharma had not been there, then that angel or that spirit wouldn't be there doing their job. But this dark to you because it's getting you together. Your whole life is going to hell. You're gonna either have to do you gonna have to do the right thing to ascend to get out of that. Okay? So people have that, they say that about Santa Muerte. They call her a dark spirit, but she is very much needed. She is very much needed uh um in a lot of instances, especially there's people that's been abused, taken advantage of, for the downtrodden. You'll see that with Archangel Cassiel, and you know, it, I was kind of scared of Archangel Cassiel because he's the angel of Saturn, but he also works for the downtrodden and the people that's been done wrong. And our ancestors worked heavily with Archangel Cassiel. Okay, it's not, you know, they're there to make it fair. They are there to balance the scales. They're not, you know, and again, you're looking at some of these spirits too. Some of these spirits have never been human. So they're not going to be working with you like they're a human, like your ancestors would be. Some of these spirits, they're just there to do a job. And especially angels. That's where I get my hang up with angels. Sometimes they're good to work with, but again, some of them have never been human. And so they're there. They love working with you, but they are not going to defy. They are not going to defy cosmic law to help you. They're going to work in conjunction with cosmic law. You're going to get what you need, but it's going to be in alignment with cosmic law. And these are cool spirits. They work a little slower because they got to work. They got to stay in divine alignment with universal laws, cosmic law. Other than your ancestors get things done a little quicker because they've been human. They understand, and so they know that the intensity of the issue that you're coming to the with, and so again they can move things and keep your prayers clear and get it to where it need to be answered. Versus angels, they're gonna get it done, but it's gotta be within universal and cosmic law. You will see the difference when you go to your ancestors and tell them something, and then go to the angels to tell you something, because they got to rearrange the whole energy and set up all this unfoldment for it to happen. Everything has to be recalculated, rebooted for your manifestation. And they got to be in the highest good. It's going to be answered, but there's some recalibration that has to happen for it to manifest. Versus the ancestors, they do a lot of, they have more influence with setting up things and letting it unfold much quicker. You have to work with them to understand what I'm saying. I've never worked with Kali Ma. I would not work with these energies if my ancestors did not tell me to do it. I've never worked with Kali Ma. I've never worked with her. So, but we do have information in our community, in our conjure membership, for people that want to work with her. But again, my boundary is I don't work with any spirit my ancestors have not told me to do. Because I know if they tell me to work with the spirit, more than likely I'm going to have success working with that spirit. That's my boundary. But I've never worked with Kalima. A lot of people think that she's dark and ugly, but she's not. She's there to keep order. She is the goddess, against patriarchy. You see her and Lilith kind of got that same type of energy, you know, but she is not evil. She's, they even have Kali Ma listed as a demon, and she's not a demon. Okay, she gets right in there and get it done. If you got that karma, you got that dharma, she gonna work, she gonna get you together. She gonna get you together. That's what she's there for. Okay, she's there for more than likely if you've been abused, um, being done wrong, or something like that, Kali Ma is good for that. If there is just harsh words and things that's going on, Kali Ma is good. But even her, Kali Ma has so many different aspects to her. She's more than the destroyer as well. So when you really get to see the full aspects of her, uh, she's more than just a destroyer as well. But then, she is great at addressing some of the issues that we have with patriarchy. She is not submissive at all. Kali Ma is about taking back feminine power. So is Lilith. These are people, and she is not submissive at all. So if you've been pushed over, and especially by your husband, or you're being abused or something like that, you're probably going to be one to call work with those deities, especially if I recommend that if you experienced a lot of, and I hate to say it like this, a lot of sexual abuse or something like that, if you've had problems with being judged because your gender or your sexual preference, I do recommend working with those deities to take your power back. If you've been a people pleaser, a pushover, or something like that, Kali Ma and Lilith would be good for that. Gaining back your power and really looking at how you too uh play the victim. Because these energies are not playing victim. They're about empowerment. So if you think you're gonna be a victim over there with Lilith and Kali Ma, no, they're gonna teach you the boundaries. They're gonna teach you how to say no. You're gonna learn how to be, and I know some of you don't like it. You're gonna learn how to be a nice bitch and do it with grace. Get ready for that with them. And you're going to be unapologetic behind it. So if you got any kind of weakness with you, it's time for you to level up if you're going to be working with those energies. I hope that made sense to you. They're not dark. A lot of people say they demons and stuff, and they have been labeled as demons, but they are not. Okay. But after you have worked with them, they're going to be good to work with if you're doing any shadow work. I recommend those deities if you're doing any shadow work around people pleasing, and you don't know when to say no, or you have some heavy trauma, uh especially if you're a woman, they will be good to help you get your power back. Okay, especially the women that are pick me's, or you want to be submissive to a man, you're going to rethink that when you work with these two deities. Okay, you're gonna rethink that. But again, I do not recommend that you work with them if you're not trying to do shadow work. If you don't have and I'm in hoodoo, so I would definitely not work with them. My ancestors didn't tell me, hey, you need to go over there and work with them because they had a medicine that you need. I don't think I need to work with Kali Ma because looking at my personality and who I am, my character. I've never bowed down. I don't like nobody tell me what to do. I am a rebel. I am gonna talk back. I'm gonna be very I'm gonna be a very nice bitch, and politely put you in your place. No, I'm not gonna apologize because you raggedy, so I don't got no problems like that. I think for me to work with Kali Ma or Lilith, that'll make me dark. Make me dark. you know, I know myself that'll make me dark. I already have that. So I don't need to go over there and work with them because I'm already empowered like that. But if you're a timid person and you don't know how to say no, and you work with you're having problem owning your power, then your ancestors might insist you work with them. Okay. Okay. But I would let my ancestors take me over there. I just don't do things because I want to do them. I get consent, I do a divination and ask my ancestors to set that up. It always goes a lot smoother with that. I don't do things because it look pretty or I like that or I might admire that deity. If my ancestors did not tell me to do that, I do not do it. Okay? You have people got in there doing that, being mesmerized by these deities, and come to find out they don't have the energy or the frequency, or are not ready to do the work to properly work with them. And usually, if you're going to work with Callie and Lilith, you're going to have to do shadow work because they want you to see how you're playing the victim into this. They want you to see it ain't nobody's fault you allowing this to happen. So if you're not ready to deal with your raggedy stuff, don't go work with them. It's gonna have adverse effects with you because they're gonna require you to grow and level up. Okay, you're gonna have to embody that energy that they have, and if you're not ready for that, then it's not gonna do you no good. Okay, it's not gonna do you no good. So keep that in mind. Stop being mesmerized by these stories with these. You're dealing with a personality, and they're going to be speaking to you telepathically. And if you are not that frequency and everything, you're not ready to open up and do the work with them, then it's gonna be non-beneficial to you. Keep this in mind, you guys. This is important. Don't just fall for the hype because you have to immerse yourself and know everything about these deities. Forget what these people are telling you. Do your own research because you're going to find yourself having to do that in order to properly contact and connect with the deity. They're going to give you general information, but as you go on and do your study and immerse yourself, you're going to find some information they didn't tell you and for a very good reason. Okay. So make sure that you're doing your full work, that you're doing your research before you work with any spirits. Do not be mesmerized by people telling you stories. Do your own work. Okay, especially some of these deities, because when you get to working with deities, you can piss them off and they can mess up your whole magic. Yeah, they'll mess up your whole magic. You over there want to half step and do what you want to do. You think you can do what you want to do with them, and because you don't understand spiritual communication, you could do something else, shut down your whole mat, your stuff won't work no more. The same thing with these elevated ancestors. You do the wrong thing, you refuse to do the work, and now they'll stop your whole magic. It won't work no more. You be trying to figure out, you be, what's wrong, well heaven, oh my god, what? Yeah, yeah. They'll stop that. That's why you want to be in good standing with these spirits. These spirits have the sign. They have the capacity to stop your work. No matter what you do, it won't move. And you think magic ain't got spirit in it. You think it's just magic without the spirit. I don't know why you would think that. But yeah, that's why I say be in good standing. Know what you're doing. Better know what you're doing, and you better go over there with the right intentions. Because you got to remember these spirits. They have the capacity to stop your work where it won't work. You be running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to figure out what happened. You better be aware when you're doing this. I kind of emphasize that to you enough. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna be doing any type of healing work. If you're gonna set up an ancestor altar, already be doing your healing work because that's gonna bring you closer to your ancestors. They love that. When you start addressing the intergenerational trauma and doing shadow work with your ancestors, it deepens your relationship because you get to see what happened to them. Because what happened to them happened to you, and it just brings a sort of a bond in the relationship. They love that. Things start to your healing and stuff starts to speed up. Okay. Your practice seems to take off much better. Then sometimes people get that together and they don't have to do no hoodoo. They don't have to do no spells. Believe me, there's people that's why you see them being venerated like that in the ATRs. If you hear some of them prayers to the ancestors, you be like, oh my God, praise be the ancestors. May they live on forever and ever. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. Praise the ancestors. I mean, they got some mighty prayers to the it would knock your socks off. It would not if you actually heard them say those prayers out loud about the ancestors, you would know in your mind this ain't about the Aloas or Orishas at all. This is about the ancestors. You learn that real quick, but you're being misled. So you don't know that. And I have to come here and have this conversation with you. None of it works without them. You wouldn't know about no spirit, no deity, no nothing, had it not been for no ancestors. So I don't know why you would want to go past it. You wouldn't even be here without an ancestor. So why would you want to go past it? You're doing a bypass. You just, a lot of us crossing ourselves up for flashy little stuff that doesn't apply. Okay? I'm be real with you. You hearing all these stories, but there's a process. There's even structure in magic. You've seen people that try to bypass something, and what happens? I'm seeing it all the time. You're seeing it in the music industry. They're in survival mode. They love money. They want stuff so bad. What they do, they go conjure and they make a pact with the spirit. That's what happens. It's easy to do. It's easy to do. Some people that, I just want what I want. I'm gonna go ahead and go work this spirit, make a pact, and get what I want. But that price could be high. That price could be high. Can you make pacts with ancestors and stuff? Of course, but it's a lot better than some of these spirits you trying to make a pact with. You can find yourself in a pickle. You gonna hear me say that. I would rather have the pact with my ancestors, you know, that I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna do the healing. And long as I'm doing the healing, long as I'm doing this work, you're gonna show up for me and be there for me. As long as I take care of you, you're gonna take care of me. That's a reasonable pact. I can get with that. Okay. You got some of these spirits, no, 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 no. You might be asked to do more nefarious things. All depends on the spirit. Okay. And you could, some people try to bypass it because they want what they want. And a lot of people getting over here for spirituality for that. They want what they want. A lot of them not doing the work. They're they are really working with some of these spirits, and they just go ahead and make pacts and start doing things. That happens. There's people over here like that. I'm not trying to knock them. I wouldn't recommend it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing it. Okay. But there's definitely people that do that. They want what they want. Nope. A lot of people don't like working with angels. They're not being talked a lot. A lot of people, but angels are universal. They're not religious at all. Angels work with anybody. You're going to see them mentioned in a variety of religions. They work with anybody at any time. They're not religious at all. Anybody can work with the angel. It doesn't matter. Okay. But people don't like working with angels because the angels require you to do inner work in order for them to help you. Because remember, they're going to keep cosmic order. They're going to do it, but they require you to be doing some inner work as well. This is the energy that feeds the work that they do. The more positive, the more healing, the more you can rise to their frequency, the more fuel you give them to work things out for you. That's why gratitude and all that is so is so emphasized, is because gratitude is the energy that feeds the good spirits into getting the work done for you. Just when you think about all that stuff, where that's feeding the negative spirits to keep waging spiritual warfare against you. It's feeding those negative spirits. Versus gratitude, gratitude feeds good spirits and keep working for you. It attracts them to you. Does that make sense? All this is energy. Okay, and nothing goes above the ancestors. I can't emphasize this or not because I'm talking about hoodoo. That's the foundation. Matter of fact, to any ATR practice, I've mentioned this again. The ancestors are front and center. Nothing moves or shakes or gets done without addressing those ancestors first. The ancestors got to be in agreement. You got some of our ATRs, they only work with ancestors. They only work with the Egungun. They only work with the Getty spirits. They only work with the Getty. They love the Getty, honey. They love them spirits. You got some people that only work with ancestors, honey. They love their gungun. They don't care. They don't work with nobody else but that. You got some people like that. They love working with ancestors. They just love work. They don't want to work with no other spirit but that. Ain't nothing, and they get a lot of stuff done just with doing that. You got some people that just work with ancestors and they just work with the saints. And a lot of people don't like working with angels because they don't want to have to ascend. That would take some work. And you'll hear a lot of people that said I'm always drawn back by that. But usually when I have somebody comment on the angel, they be like, "Yeah, I work with that angel, but it's kind of difficult working with them too." You hear them say that. And I be thinking to myself, well, I think to myself, well, you must not been willing to do what they asked you to do. That's the only way it's going to be hard. Is they're asking you to do something you're not willing to do it. Okay? And some people find it difficult. They don't like working with angels. Okay? And I must say it can be a little difficult working with I think it's difficult working with the deity that has not been human. It's kind of different. I think it's difficult working with the deity, and I think it's difficult working with angels because some of them were never human. And so they can never really sympathize with our condition versus our ancestors. They are human, they have been human, so they can sympathize with our condition, and they can do more things for us. So ancestors and saints, I mean, that I think they move a lot quicker because they've been human versus angels and some of these deities. They're more most of them are going to be they're going to be more concerned about cosmic law, and depending on what their attributes are, they might be concerned with more specific things in you, and they may require different things in you. But definitely, when you work with the saints and ancestors, things tend to be easily communicated and they get things done. Versus when you work with the deity or archangel, they're going to get it done, but they don't move as fast as some saints and some ancestors because they have to stay in alignment with cosmic law and divine law, or what area they have a domain over, especially when it comes to deities. When it comes to deities, you'll get that. You'll find out more about that when you go into Lesser Key of Solomon, because you got the King of Fire, and his domain is fire, and he might have like 80 legions of spirits that work with him. Okay, so and two, they have their own stipulations of what you need to have together to work with them. That's just like me when I work with Ezekiel. I'm trying to create abundance. And I've talked about this before. And he said, I can't do nothing with you because you're raggedy. I can't do it. I'm like, what? Yeah, you're going to have to fix that. They will tell you they can't fix that. They'll tell you. So sometimes, yeah, it can be a little difficult, but if you're not willing to do the work, and you're not willing to heal and stuff like that, then you might find it difficult. But I tried to make that easy for you by introducing you to the healing to motivate you, uh, motivate you to do the healing so you can work better with the angels. So usually that'll work together. You're gonna get results as long as you focus on healing. They will help you. Okay. I hope that made sense to a lot of you. And then they are simply elemental classification. Dark spirits tend to be stern, aggressive, and more prone to violence. Examples of dark spirits include Lilith, Kali, and many shades of the dead. These spirits are considered dark because their nature tends towards darkness, and meaning that they are often considered nocturnal. They can frequently be malicious towards both the practitioner and their target. This is not to say, however, that they are evil, but in fact, dark spirits can often be ideal choice for many workings that would be considered positive. I was talking to the ancestors about that. I said, wow, wow. They said, well, baby, look at it this way. Sometimes Sometimes you have to do something bad to make something good. I said, what? Yeah. Okay. Sometimes you got to do something bad to come up to do something good. Make sense? That who would understand that, better than them? Because they had to outsmart their oppressors. They had to unalive some of their oppressors to get justice. Okay, so just depend on how you're looking at it, and why these spirits exist. They exist for a reason. That sometimes the ancestors will lead you to work with some of the Hindu deities. I think ain't that Hinduism? We talked about that in our community. Sometimes they will, depending on your ancestors. I haven't worked with Ganesh that much. It's been a while. But sometimes that happen. You have to do something bad to do something good. Okay, our ancestors knew that all so well. Yeah, we talked about Hinduism. Hinduism looks a lot like voodoo. I did a whole presentation and a breakdown on that. Well, sometimes you have to do that. So it depends on how you're looking at it. And like I say, when we go to looking through a lot of these materials, they'll have some like they got Kalima and Lilith. Some of them, it depending on where you look at, they'll have Kalima labeled as a demon, and we know that that ain't true. Okay, they'll have Lilith labeled as a demon. They'll have Ogun labeled as a demon. They'll have Papa Legba labeled as a demon. Well, we know that ain't true. We're looking at a colonized Western perspective of our ancestral spirits. That's what's going on there. Okay, that's what's happening there. So don't be fooled by the hype. Look at these spirits yourself. Do all your research. That way you'll be informed and educated about the spirit for yourself. Okay, rather than listening to some of the hype. Because believe me, there's plenty of information on how to work with these spirits and what they truly are. Okay. These protection and healing, but they are also called to deal with enemies. And you can. They have angels like that. People think angels are just love and light, and they just do all. No, they think they got to go to a demon to go get justice and all that. No, they got some angels out here that put a whooping on some person. They will put the spiritual handcuffs on them and take them to karmic jail. Will put sorrow in their life. Every time they look around, it just be raggedy. I got some, and people swear it's the devil. No, it's especially who can do that better. If you got a relationship with Archangel Michael, he'll put a whooping on somebody. If you've been devoted and committed to him, and y'all have a good relationship, when somebody come in there with their crazy stuff, he can put a whoop. And some people think that they got a demon on them. No, it be Archangel Michael. Okay, then put the spiritual handcuffs on them. They like just ragged, all types of stuff happening to them. And you think it you think it's a devil. No, it be an angel. But he would not have did that had you been out of alignment with cosmic law. If the energy is there, you're leaving yourself open for that whooping. They would not be able to do that if you were not alignment. If you're out of alignment with cosmic law, yeah, you giving them free reign to handle you because you out of order. But if you had the if you was in alignment and that probably wouldn't have happened. They probably would have told the practitioner, now just pray for them. They life, they got this going on right now. They're really a good person. Let's pray for them. We're gonna move them to do this and that. But if your stuff, you already got that energy there, you're opening yourself up to get that business. That's what I said. You better watch who you put in pots and all this stuff, because you don't know who protecting them. You better watch who you get. You got that stuff, and for no reason and stuff, you making yourself open to get that business. I'm telling you, don't do it. You better watch who you messing with, who you putting in pots and stuff, because you don't know who their ancestors is. You don't know what spirit protecting them. You don't know who looking out for them. There is a thing called cause and effect. It can, what the our ancestors said, it can backfire. It can backfire. Your work can backfire. So you better not be too happy about who you putting in pots and stuff, because they got some spirits. Some of these people can go talk today. They might be spirits with a saint, friends with a saint, especially if they friends with Saint Cyprian, one of these saints or whatever, and they go talk to one of these saints and tell them what's going on, and that saint or that angel find out it's you, and this person got a good relationship, they're good standing with their spirits, that can be some repercussions for you. And some people that got the most power, they not walking around here with the steadies with head wraps on their head. They the most unseemly people that's getting up in the morning and praying and have a relationship with their spirits. They just the unseemly people. So don't get messed up out here. Yeah, Hinduism is definitely it would definitely open you up. You learn so much about that. I think Hinduism really, because it looks so much like voodoo. It looks so much about voodoo. I think it's easier because we have easier access to it than we do voodoo. So a lot of people ancestors will lead them Hinduism, and you will see Hinduism. Some of the Hindu deities in Ifa, and you will see them in voodoo. Yes, sometimes you will see Shiva and some of them Hindu deities in voodoo and in Ifa. Tripped me out when I seen it. I said, "What is happening here? What's happening here, ancestors? Why am I seeing this here?" And my ancestors said, "We everywhere. You think we in one place now, baby? You look hard enough, you gonna see us there. We gonna be there. You look hard enough." Okay, so they can reach you from any time, through anything, through anybody, anywhere. It doesn't matter. You're thinking about family members. No, we're talking about ancestors. We're talking about people that's been here for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We're not talking about your family. We're talking about elevated ancestors. We're not talking about your family. We're not talking about your family that was sick with intergenerational trauma and all that. No, we're here to heal that. We're only talking about elevated ancestors. I got to say that again because I don't think it's being said. It's not being emphasized. We got people, got family members on the altar. They're confused because the family member was sick. They were not good people. They either were alcoholics, addicts, liars, womanizers, abusers, or something. And you got these people on your altar. And now you're foggy, you're confused, your practice seems like it ain't moving. Well, it's not going to move when you got sick people up there, and then both of y'all sick, and then none of y'all do no intergenerational healing. Take them off the altar and put a white cloth on there with water and flowers and food, fruits or vegetables or something, and keep it just like that with no pictures for a while. Put a Bible up there if you want to put a Bible up there. But the main thing need to be some water, some candle, some flowers. You want to put a few stones up there, you can do that. But it don't need to be no pictures of no family members, especially for Black Americans. You need to pump the brakes, especially if you know that your family was sick mentally and spiritually, that there was some issues in your family, they were not good to you. We do not want to put them up there. Them. Okay? I hope y'all still can hear me. No- Okay. So we did the only thing that matters is they know you. Cause I heard that too. Well, I don't know them. It don't matter. You ain't gonna know them. They names were lost during time. These angels, some of these ancestors are older. They 100,000 years old. They know you. Okay, did I get it back? Can y'all hear me now? Hope you can hear me now. Okay, so they know you. These and their names are lost in time. Now, if you go through if you go ahead and read your ancestors book, you're gonna come to this realization. Your mind is not right yet. You haven't not been properly educated about ancestor veneration. If you're in our community, that's the first thing I'm gonna have you do. On our first welcome page, you're gonna find book links right there where we telling you, we're giving you a syllabus of the stuff you need to be working on. There's links there where you can click on and open up each book what you need to be working on. Okay, great. Good night, Golden Sun Kiss. There's book links on there. Okay, so we get you exposed to that one because I want you to thoroughly understand that because you're right now you just think family members. And no, 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 no. I need to break that down so you can understand how many ancestors walk with you and the spiritual support that you have. Okay. Let me go on here. Now, dark spirits are often used for removing obstacles, spiritual growth, healing, and past trauma, just like what I said. Light spirits, on the other hand, are typically taken to be more benevolent in nature, calmer, and all around more beneficial. These are called cool spirits as well. Okay. These spirits are often called upon for protection and healing, but they're also often called to deal with enemies. A prime example of the archangel Saint Michael. I just talked about Saint Michael. People think that, he's just all love and light. No. If you got the right, you out of cosmic order, and they open themselves up for it. Okay. The energy has to be there when when that angel see that they out of cosmic order. Yeah, you can. It's in my bio. Just go to the channel and click, and it should take you directly to Patreon. Yes, all this is gonna be. Yes, it's in the Patreon. I have a wealth of information there. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. So again, when you because they gonna look at that person, they're nothing but consciousness. So that spirit can tell when they're out of alignment. They're leaving their self open to get that work. Can't fool no spirit, so you might as well don't do it. Don't come over here doing raggedy stuff and all that stuff. You're leaving yourself open to get work that you ain't ready for. And that's what I have. I have people coming in my box. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody put a hex on me, so I put somewhere a hex back on them. Ain't an ancestor being mentioned. Ain't an angel being mentioned. We just got folks putting each other in pots, putting spells on each other, and now everybody's life is gone to hell. I'm sorry that I'm buffering. There's nothing I can do about that, Raquel. Okay. So that, think about that before you start putting people in pots and stuff. Think about that. Okay. Is it justified? Did your ancestors tell you to do it? Are you in alignment? Are you emotionally uh balanced and healthy to do this work? Are you in your ego? Are your feelings just hurt? You need to sit with reflecting and doing that before you do it. I just had a situation the other day. Uh, you know, and this person deserved the business, but I got mad at that moment. I was cussing mad too, honey. And then Ancestor said, "Stop! Don't stop it! Stop getting mad! Stop! You got righteous anger there. Yeah, you mad right now, but we don't want you to get too mad where it's gonna block the work that you're doing. Because sometimes if you get too upset, you want to make sure that you're keeping your vibes high. Because if you're doing any type of important work or trying to manifest, that can mess with your work. That's when sometimes some of these spirits will try to get at you and get you into spiritual warfare so you can drop your vibration and frequency, and it messes with your work. So my ancestor says, stop. Stop, stop, stop it. Save it for the altar. Be mad. You already told him what it is. You already told him what it's going to be and what you did. You did the right thing, baby. You let him know. And we told you we was going to let you know that he was doing raggedy stuff. And we let you know. Because it come back around this retrograde. And he was supposed to get that lesson. And now he getting the lesson again. Don't you worry about it. You gonna take it to the altar. We gonna take care of this. We gonna tell you what to do. And so I said, okay. I was mad too. I was so mad, but the ancestors told me don't say nothing no more. Save for the altar. But when I got to that altar, baby, I was just like I was in court, like I was at Judge Judy Court. I said, I don't like what he did. I talked to him for a whole year and told him this, and this ain't right, ancestors, and this ain't right, spirit. I need justice in the court. I can't got no money. I'm in a strange place. And I can't get to no court and I can't afford no attorney. But right now I petition you to be my attorney and put the handcuffs on him. Put the spiritual handcuffs on him and put him in the jail of karma. Rain down sorrows on his head. Cause I told him I didn't want to do it. And I hate to even do the man like this. Forgive me, cause I don't even want to do the man like this. I'm so sorry I got to do this. I don't even want to be ugly like this. But these person, they wouldn't even listen to me. And they didn't injure me and play with my money. And I don't like it. They either gonna restore me or I need some justice right now. I mean, I was talking. I was talking like I was in the court. I just plead my case before them. Now this is raggedy. I ain't did nothing to the man, try to help the man and everything. And the man just want to be, the man wanted to keep on being raggedy. Okay, the man wanted to keep on being raggedy. I had to plead my case. I said, and I'm trying to be right. I'm trying to be right. I'm trying to do the right thing. And I really wanted to, I just plead my case with the spirits, and I was there telling them, and I'm gonna be done with this, and I'm going back to what I was doing, but I don't like it, and I need y'all to, get that man together over there. I need some justice because this man wasted my money and played with me and thought I was something to play with, and I am not. Think you can do folks like this? No, you cannot. You know. So I plead my case, and that's how you should go there. Use that at the altar to plead your case, because you're going to the court. You going to the divine court now. You getting divine justice now. You going before them higher spirits now, and you're telling them what these folks done or what they done, and how you tried your best to do the right thing. You don't even want to do this right here, right now. But this is the only way to handle it, to get this together. So you don't got to keep going through that. Okay? So, it's a way to do this. You ain't supposed to just be putting stuff on people that ain't justified. Now, I warned that man over and over again, honey, about this stuff. He just kept thinking it's funny. I said, okay. And then when it finally came back around and the ancestors put it front and center and showed, put it down, on paper and showed he couldn't deny it anymore. He had to fix it. And then try to play the victim. I said, I don't care. I don't care about none of that. You better fix it. And then you fix it, you gonna contact me. like I was to say, thank you supposed to do that long. You're doing what you were supposed to do a long time ago. I didn't really care. Okay, so I had to go to the spirits, and I had to, plead my case before the divine court. That's how you should be going, telling them what's going on with you instead of cussing, getting mad, angry, and going back and forth with the person. No, we ain't gonna do that no more. We already got spirit working for us. We done warned these people about playing with us. Okay, we try to be extend mercy and grace, and we use the fruits of our spirit to do right by folks. And when they ain't did right by you, and you know they did you wrong, go on and take it to the altar and tell your ancestors what these folks have done. Okay, ain't gonna go back and forth cussing and all that stuff. But you go there with respect, and then you got to ask for forgiveness and take a spiritual bath after you do the work. I had to do that work for a couple of days. So every day I'm taking a spiritual bath. I said, oh, you know, who wants to be doing that? I got to go in here, take a spiritual bath, be focused on this, do this, and then I got to clean all this stuff off of me and then go back to my work. It's really an inconvenience to me. But now I don't have no choice but to do it because you plan on being raggedy. So I got to go get justice. I got to go talk to my ancestors. And I promised them I wasn't going to let people keep doing raggedy stuff to me. So I can't let you do that. My ancestors got to see me being assertive too. They don't want me going back into people please and push over stuff. So now I got to go to these spirits to fix you. You know, that's the correct way to do that. Not just because you get mad, you haven't healed, you got all these triggers. So now you just, you're going to find yourself in a frenzy like that. It has to be justified. The person as certainly have to injure you financially in some type of way. There has to be something there for you to be justified in it. And you have to be able to open your mouth and tell your spirit guys if they any type of good. If you working with good spirits, you have to tell them, hey, how this person did this ugly, raggedy stuff to you, and you want to get justice and how they injured you, and you'll see your ancestors get to working real fast on them people. Okay. Okay, so be careful out here with that. You got a lot of people doing it, and then they find themselves going back and forth, putting hexes and stuff on each other, and now they like just ragged and they don't know how to fix it. Okay, so be careful about what you're doing. Just because somebody's showing you that doesn't mean that's the proper protocol to do that, especially when we're talking about hoodoo. Or if you do it like that, you might find yourself in a pickle, in a cycle that you can't get out of. So be careful with that. Just because they're showing you that doesn't mean that's something you should do. There is a protocol to that. Ask your ancestors. I don't do nothing where I am. Ask my ancestors. Even when I do work, I get upset. I would tell my ancestors, I'm mad about that, ancestors. I don't like the way they did that. That hurt my feelings. Now, if they were trying to be malicious, you know, please fix that for me because I don't like nobody being mean to me like because I wasn't being mean to them. But if this is something that's inside of me that's broken, it's my ego, please help me to see that and fix that in myself. I go to them just like that because I'm not perfect and I know that I've been hurt. Okay? I go to them like that. Be for real, get serious with yourself. If you got all these negative feelings, tell them, ancestors, I got these negative feelings. Help me to fix this. I don't like that I feel like this. Okay? Be honest with yourself. The spirits love that. Don't go there with no freckle, knackle, fluff, bull crap. Be serious with them. Ain't no sense in faking and jiving. It ain't gonna turn out good for you, okay? So be serious about it. If you don't know, you're not sure, let them know that, hey, I don't know if I'm looking at this wrong. Is this a wound or was this person trying to hurt me? Or am I looking at this wrong? Help me see, ancestors. Help me. Be for real. Be for real. And I don't think we're going there like that. I don't think many of us are going there like that. Be honest and open because you can't trick no spirit. You just can't. Okay, they gonna fix it for you. When you say it like that, they gonna give you insight. Every time they gonna let you know you're gonna get a sign that it was you, or if that person was really trying to be raggedy, you're gonna see the ancestors get them together right there in front of your face. You're gonna see it right there in front of your face. They're gonna make sure you're gonna be front and center when ancestors get them together because they're gonna be complaining to you about their problems. And guess who? Guess why they got the problems? Because they was messing with you. They shouldn't have been messing with you because your ancestors don't play about you. The ancestors gonna show you. They're gonna show you. You got to worry about it. Okay? Now you ain't got to worry about it. They're gonna get them together right there in front of you. You gonna be like, oh my God, I didn't know that was going. Yeah, they heard you, and yeah, that person was playing with you. They thought you was something to play with. And the ancestors showed them right in front of you, you are not nothing to play with. You keep doing that, that's what's gonna happen to you again. Stop playing with my baby like that. Don't play with my baby like that. Okay, I've seen it front and center. I've experienced it. So don't worry about that. You be honest and you tell your spirits, your ancestors, what's going on with you. Okay? The art of invocation is the act of calling a spirit into yourself for the purpose of deeper communion. This is always done as a request rather than a demand because the spirit beings invoked is typically not going to take a well being command. Okay? So we don't command them. Invocation is typically used to call upon your power of a spirit to imbue an object with energy or to create a talisman. So you'll see a lot of talismanic magic going on, a lot of sigil magic going on in our practice as well. It's also used to transit information from either the spirit to the practitioner or from the spirit to another person through the practitioner. However, there are multitude of uses for this skill. One such one such use is to invoke a spirit of authority and success before a job interview. Again, to get any work done, we're usually going to be working with the spirit. Okay. Going into the interview while bearing the presence of the spirit will increase your chances of impressing the potential employer and landing the job. That's just like if you're going for a job. I think Archangel Uriel and Archangel Michael are good for that. Say you wanna talk to Archangel Michael or you want to pray to a spirit before you get in there. Uh Again, you can embody that energy and you that energy will be with you when you go in there. Okay, so again, we work with spirits over here. I don't care what nobody's telling you. You work with maybe you want the spirit of High John on you. Maybe you've been working with High John the Conqueror, and maybe you want to embody that energy. Okay. First, no invocation is done without giving an offering. We give an offering. Second, when performing the invocation, the entity or the deity that is being invoked would typically be the central or only being in your ritual. So your altar should be adorned only with imagery and correspondence of the entity or deity. It does not have to be overly ritualized. In fact, the simpler the better in most cases. When you first start this, keep it as simple as possible. Don't try to do nothing elaborate. Your ancestors won't have you doing anything extra. Okay, even when you start in your altar, and you've heard me say, if you know your family members have not healed and they passed away like that, give them some rest. Don't slap them up there and have them working for you like that. Because some of them were in survival mode, and then some of them actually worked themselves into a grave. And then you're going to try to put them to work uh, when they're in the afterlife. Don't do that. Work with healthier ancestors. Work with elevated ancestors. I know what you're hearing here. And I know I've had a lot of people, I tell people that to take that down. The only time I'm going to tell you leave that up if that particular ancestor came to you in a dream and they were healthy ancestors and they asked you to put them on the altar. That's the only time I wouldn't tell you to take that down. Now, if that ancestor was I hear you, Raquel. I see you, Raquel. If that ancestors was not healthy and they're trying to get you to work with them, then I wouldn't recommend it because you'll end up feeding something unhealthy and you can take on some of their traits. I think a good example of was Jocelyn Hernandez. She was talking about how she was trying to kick her habit, her addiction. And she felt like her dad was around her trying to influence her to do because her dad had passed away. And ancestors can do that. You can have an ancestor that was an alcoholic and you don't even drink, but they will give you the craving to drink alcohol. You probably weren't even a fighter or violent. But if you working with an ancestors that were violent, you know, and you got them on the altar, you might have a craving to want to start fights and stuff. Okay. So that's why I said do not put them on there if they're not healthy. And they're the same, they had the same way they were here. They the same way in when they pass over. They ain't much change and happen over there. So please, think about that. I know this is not being talked about, but I'm mentioning it here. And obviously it's important I'm mentioning it. I don't care. I don't have an explanation of why no one else is saying this. I have no explanation of why no one is giving you full disclosure. I don't have that. I see the mistake and I'm concerned about it. So I'm coming here providing you with correct full disclosure and information. Okay, that's the only answer I have for you right there. Okay, but you would definitely see it if you are in our community. You're gonna see it for yourself. And you're gonna be like, dang, these people been just telling me to do this, and yeah, you've been getting it wrong. I got to get you to see it for yourself so you can get your mind together. And so you think I'm not making this up. Okay, so you can see it for yourself. You're not being, and some of us, it's it's not to educate us. It is our job to open up a book, sit down, read, and make contact with our ancestors. It is not their job to teach us. I get some people on my post, they want to know everything. That's not my job to teach you. I've told you what I'm willing to share. That's why I come here. I've just shared a 3-hour video giving you everything you need, but yet you're in here trying to extract more information from me. You can either book a reading or get in our community. I'm not going to answer any questions, so don't do it. That's your problem. That's the problem here. You won't sit down and learn and get educated. You steady trying to extract information for free and take a bypass and thinking you're doing something cute when you're not. You're messing yourself up. I've just stopped it in my box. I just stopped them from doing it in my box. If you come there with a question, you don't book a read, you're not in my community, I'm not answering questions. So just go look at the book reviews. You ask me questions. Go book because you need to be learning. You need to be asking me questions. You need to be sitting there. If you're asking me a question, that means you need to learn or you need to book a reading. So don't look for me to answer any questions. You're going to get a book recommendations that I have, or you're going to be recommended to book a reading. A lot of y'all, they have parasites to get in my box too. And just, hey, how you doing? Wait a minute, wait a minute. You don't know me. This box ain't for that. Now, if you want to book a reading or if you're interested in our community, I can help you with that. But you don't know me like that. See, that's a red flag when people start doing it. I don't know you from a can of paint and you think we're finna have a friendly conversation. Who sent you? Who sent you? What sent you? What made you think that, we can engage in a conversation and you don't know me? You see my videos and all of that, but you don't know me. And I will never know you through a direct message. So if you're not booking a reading or in my community, we have nothing to talk about. We're not friends or any of that. I don't know who sent you or what sent you. And if you were a healthy person, you would know this is a boundary. You just don't jump in people's boxes like this, invading them, wasting their time with whatever you got going on. I've been having to address that, and the ancestors got me working on that. Used to be a time I would go for that and take the bait. And said, no, you better not. You better not set a boundary with them. That's not good for your energy. No, you don't know them. You're not going to be engaging with them like that. You don't know. And if they want some help or assistance, have them book a reading or get in our community, or they can to subscribe to your TikTok thing where you can answer questions and stuff for them if they're supporting your community. But other than that, no. They didn't got strict with me, you guys. The boundaries are getting real over here. Okay, they just like, no, 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 no. Tell them this, no. You're not gonna be leaking any more energy here and there. Because there's parasites out there that do that. You got some people to see how far they can take you so they can extract energy from you. You got some of your friends, you're spending hours with them on the phone, uh, listen to their problem, but you're depleted. They're just sucking the life out of you. And you wondering why you feel so bad or why you down. It's the friend. And they never take your advice. They never listen. They do what they want to do anyway, but yet they want you to listen to set boundaries. Okay, I'm learning to do that. I don't want to hear your story. I don't want to hear none of that. Either you're gonna book a reading. Don't get them. Can I ask you something? No, you may not. You may not ask me nothing because you want a reading. That's disguised as me asking you something. You want a reading. That's what you want. That's what you should book. Okay. No, you can't get in my box and tell me your life story and then wait for me to give you a reading back through a DM. No, I'm not doing it. Okay. So I've had to stop a lot of that stuff. Okay. So don't look for me. Don't get in my box asking me questions. You're gonna be advised to book a reading or go and support one of our community. Okay. At first, this ritual may seem daunting, but as you perform it more and more, it will become more comfortable to you. Rituals with angels and other Bolivian spirits, however, are a bit different. Protection is less of a concern. You don't really have to, do a lot of circle casting, working with angels. You really don't have to do a lot of protection work with them because they're Bolivian spirits, and even when you come into contact with them, you're gonna have a proof that your elevated ancestors as well. Now you will be casting a circle if you're doing any magic, anything like that on your personal altar. Then you probably will be casting a circle for them to protect you while you do your work. Or if you're working with the spirit, a different spirit, then you probably want to cast a protection circle. Okay, but all of that is going to be in your resource, and we go over that thoroughly. Protection is less of a concern as these spirits are seen to be helpful, and it is encouraged that they be allowed to stand in your ritual space alongside you. We even have the lesser banishing ritual that we talked about, and the middle pillar exercise. So those are little rituals that raise your vibration, and you can call in the angels, your spirit guides to protect you while you perform certain magical work or speak with a certain spirit. You aren't just calling the names of spirits for their influence, you are visualizing them in a particular way and then asking them to inhabit the visualization. So when you visualizing as well, when you're visualizing the angels of these spirits, they are going to embody what you imagine they look like. That's what they're going to look like. And I think that's where most people doubt because they think I'm making it up. Of course, because the spirit had to have somewhere to manifest themselves. And how do they do that? Through your imagination, through your visualization and imagination. That's how these spirits are going to manifest themselves. And how does that happen? Through your third eye. Everybody tell that the pineal gland and you can see. Well, is you gonna tell them how it works? Is you gonna tell them it's gonna be that visualization and imagination? You just gonna tell them about the pineal gland and they can do this and that, but you're not gonna tell them the occult esoteric activity of the third eye. You're getting it here. It's gonna be through your imagination. It's gonna be through your visualization. The visualization you choose is not only a way of giving the power of the spirit somewhere to go, but patterns the manifestation by the colors. You'll have some ancestors that just like the other night, I started working with this spirit, and all of a sudden I started seeing rainbows. I knew what spirit that was right off in meditation when I started seeing them rainbows. I already knew who it was. Sometimes they announce themselves by colors, especially angels, because different angels, uh, these different colors is a signature of the frequency and vibration these angels are on. Yeah, different colors have different frequencies and vibrations. Okay, you have yellow, that's a high vibration. Orange, light orange, that's a high vibration. Red is the lowest vibration. Okay, purple is a high vibration. So sometimes you won't specifically see the angel. Sometimes they identify themselves by color. So keep that in mind. And implement symboling, telling the forms how to act and what you want them to do. Of course, visualization are not the only things that spirits can inhabit. They can inhabit statues, icons, symbols, and items of the art. We see that with mojo bags. We see that with doll babies. They can inhabit what they want. We see this with spirit bottles. Okay. Control appearance is when a spirit manifests in a form that is negotiated between the sorcerer and the spirit, usually within the context of the conjuration or evocation, where the spirit is expected to appear either at the edge of a circle or in a scrying device like a crystal or mirror. Now, I do not recommend evoking them in your space in a physical plane. That's not how our ancestors do it. They use a mirror or water. And we talk about that thoroughly, how to, if that's something that you want to do, that we definitely have instructions on how to do that. But it takes a while to be able to do that. You have to have a couple of sittings and be patient with doing the scrying through a mirror or a crystal. It can be done, but you're going to have to be patient. Okay. And, brace yourself for what you see. Because what you think some of these spirits look like ain't gonna be always what they look like. It can be prostrating to see some of them. Okay, and I'm gonna stop right there. The key here is while a manifestation of spirits through resonance may be accompanied by omens and dreams and spirit habitation, may be accompanied by a number of communications from the spirits. Control appearances are defined by two ways of communication between the spirit and the conjurer or the sorcerer. The reason it is controlled appearance rather than just appearance is that the perimeters of communication are set by you, the practitioner, who is calling the spirit rather than allowing the spirit to show up wherever it likes. Care is taken to the request that it takes a form that is not frightening, especially when you go look at our book, Summoning Spirits, and looking at some of these goetic spirits. They are frightening to behold. You got some angels like that frightening to behold. Don't mean they're evil. See, we see these pretty little pictures of these angels with wings and all that. You got some of them are scary to look at, some of these spirits. Okay. And it wouldn't, and I think this more of the Western mindset. I think if we were uh more in our indigenous practices, it wouldn't scare you because our ancestors used to go into these spiritual realms with these different masks and looking different ways. And that was a signature of their power, letting the spirit know I got this power too. So that's why you can see a lot of that in voodoo and why they wearing these masks, because when they go into the spiritual realm, they may look not so cute to us, but when they go into the spiritual realm, this is a representation of their power, and they get respect from the spirit like that. Okay. And some of these spirits, you go look at our if you're in our conjure membership, then you have access to this. I have not put this book, if you're in the know thyself too, you might have access to this. But I have not put this in a ritual membership because you're not ready for that. So I wouldn't expose you to that. But if you look at these summoning spirits book and they got pictures of some of these spirits, you know, they can only it's only so much human form they can take. That's just like you seeing Thoth. We're gonna use that for an example. He has a human body, but he has to keep this bird. head. That is the most human he can get. It's another spirit like that. What's the name of that spirit? I can't think of that spirit name. But he's really he manifests as a peacock. He can't take a whole form as a human. He can take the body of a human, and then his face is still like a bird, a peacock. Another one like that. Let's use Bassett as an example. Okay, she uh she takes a human woman body, but she still got the face of a cat. Okay, that's a symbolism of her power. That's the most human that she can be. She can have the body of a woman, you know, but she has the face of a cat. That's a representation of her power. You have some spirits that's like that. Okay, and you have a lot of these people that like. I don't recommend it because it takes too much energy to evoke them on a physical realm, and when they come there, they are not nice. They are not nice when because it takes a lot of energy for them to take on a physical form and to present themselves to you. So a lot of times by the time that you see them in physical form like that, and it's not, urgent for them to do that, you just want them to do that, they're not going to be nice when they show up. Just putting yourself more at risk with them. I would rather you use water for scrying or a black mirror to do this rather than trying to bring them into your physical reality because it's too many risks involved with that. But if this will make more sense to you after you have did some learning and studying for yourself, and you'll be like, wait a minute, this would be kind of not safe. Okay, but you'll have to see that for yourself. Okay. So we want you to be safe when you're doing this. Better to imagine them, do path working. This is why I promote path working and creative visualization. It's more safer to do it that way. Okay. Spirit communication tends to be more gentle in a whisper as opposed to a shout. The little voice in the back of your head, the tingling down your neck, the shadow at the corner of your eye. These are all ways the spirit communicates with us. The trick in is learning to recognize what is spirit and what is us. That's why we're doing the shadow work. That's why we heal. Meditation can be useful here. Meditation teaches us to recognize our own thoughts and distractions and release them. And by learning to recognize our own thoughts, we also learn to distinguish those that come from spirit world. But before we launch into that, we must first turn our eyes to spirit senses themselves. So developing your spiritual senses, sitting with it, doing the meditation, seeing how you are sensing spirit. That's how you're going to learn that. And so now we're going into pact in an agreement, a bargain with the spirit to gain something in exchange for something else. This is typically dedication or some form of offering. That is what we're doing when we work with certain spirits and saints and angels and ancestors. We give them an offering. Now, this can be done with demons, are arguably the most packed partners. They make the most packs, okay? Because they got to get you in there and manipulate you and feed what alpha whatever you got. You're gonna see them to be the most popular packs. And again, I'm not saying that all demons are evil, but there are some that's nefarious, that is malicious, and very mischievous. And you can find yourself in a pickle with them. Okay, so you can make packs with them. There's healthy packs, and then there are packs that you cannot get yourself out of. So now I have to talk about this. So much so that many people do not realize that it is even possible to form a pact with other forces, and you can. The trick is these demons have minds of lawyers. I do not. They will have all these many clauses and stuff in there. You see it with the some of the music industry, the stuff they have to do. They didn't know they had to do. Now they got to walk around with this on and look crazy like this and do this like this and do. That's how they work. It's gonna be clauses in there. Okay. That's just like what was the movie I saw? What was the movie I saw? Juju doll, voodoo doll, about the little boy. He was in music, and his grandma was a conjure woman, and he wanted to get back at the manager, and so he made a pact with the dark man, and he just told the dark man, "I don't care what you do, you can have anything, just don't mess with my grandma." And then come to find out, when the man came back, the spirit came back to collect. The grandma was just like, "What did you say to him?" And he told his grandma exactly what he said, and she said, "Oh my God, you gave him reign to do anything with these words that you said. You have to be careful how you word things with them spirits. You better think about it long and hard with some of these spirits. You plan on working with them. You better think about what you're saying." Okay, he didn't listen to what he was saying, and the spirit came after his little pregnant girlfriend. I just saw the movie the other day, honey. Voodoo doll. It's called Voodoo doll or something like that. Rag doll. Rag doll. I think it was called Rag doll. Okay, and then this Rag doll. The dark man fixed this dark man to get revenge for him. Then the dark man came back to collect. And his grandma was telling him, "You have to watch what you say." And it came too. He conjured that demon. It came right on. Came right on. They come right on. Okay? That's why I said you need to have yourself together. You know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. You don't need to be, doing that. Okay? Some are benevolent, it is true, and many are indifferent, but some are quite malicious. It is in your best interest not to trust in the good nature of these beings, and to ensure that your pact is so careful worded that it cannot be twisted against you. Just like what I said, they would twist your words. Okay, that's why I say I got to keep you over here working with ancestors, because you're not no big dog yet. You're not a seasoned practitioner. And even when I give you stuff over there in the conjure, once I break it down for you, you on your own. Now, if you know you don't know how to work with these spirits, get out of there. Get out of there, because I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you stuff that'll show you how. I'm gonna give you stuff to show you how to work with demons. I'm gonna give you stuff to show you how to work with Kalima. I'm gonna give you stuff to show you how to work with a variety the goetic spirits. You're gonna learn. You're gonna be getting a lot of information over there. So if you know that ain't what you want, don't be over there, because that's I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you guideposts or whatever, but if I just assume that if you're in the conjure membership, then you know what you're doing. So I'm gonna give you the information like you know what you're doing. Okay? And a lot of those spirits, I have not some I have worked with, some I have never worked with. I've never worked with the demon, never had an interest to work with the demon. Okay? This is in no way meant to spread the Judeo Christian prejudice against demons. All spirits can be this way. However, the reason demons are more like this is simply their nature. They are very close to human, and we as humans always try to twist things to our advantage. So why should we expect any different from demons? Okay? So you have been fairly informed. Uh, You've been fairly informed in that. This whole video, you can come back and watch this whole video is dedicated, but none of the spirits. Angels are a bit little legalistic, as they tend to look at the bigger picture than themselves. This is also why they are preferred for multiple purpose packs. You can make packs with them. What they're going to require you to do with them. Well, if I do this, you're going to have to give to this charity. If I do this, we want you to volunteer. They do stuff like that. If I do that, we want you to work with needy people. It's always going to be something like that. This is also why they prefer multiple purpose packs, as they have the capacity to see each portion fits with their other, and how they can best be made to fit the better interests of their conjurer. Angels are more than willing to enter into an agreement, and they typically only request that you make them known for it. Some of them have that too. They say, well, we want you to know, we don't want no offering. We want you to let like a Saint Expedite do. Some of them he wants you to thank him publicly. And so you have some angels like that. We don't want no offering. We want you to tell the people the work that we did and encourage more people to work with us because they want to work with more people. They just want you to get their name out there, what they do, so more people will work with them because they love working with people. Okay. But people don't like to work with them. That'd be some of the issue. Okay. And they typically only request that you make them known for it because it is a sad fact that angels are often overlooked in today's mystical culture. A lot of people don't want to work with them. They would go work with a demon. It baffles me because the angels are the first spirits I began to work with before the ancestors, and they introduced themselves to me. Yeah, they were very loud and clear that hey, we're here, we want to work with you. Okay, so it just baffles me why people will go work with other spirits, and you just have renowned occultists or seasoned practitioners. They just don't work with angels that much. If they do, they may work with them once or twice a year. They don't work with angels that much. They're not fond of that. And it's because angels they have to do things that stay in cosmic law. So it may take them a while to get stuff done, but they get it done. But not fast as your ancestors or a saint will. Okay, so I like to keep because they're very cool. They look at the big picture, and again, they have to recalibrate cosmic law to put in your intentions to where it'll unfold, where it works for everybody for the highest good. So it may take a while for it to unfold. Okay, not to mean it's not gonna happen, especially when it comes to healing. Now, when it comes to healing, they do that very quickly. They do it that very quickly. The healing on your mind and your spirit, they do that with like that. That's why I recommend them. Your mind is crazy, your emotions is all rocky and stuff. I recommend get you need to be working with angels, get yourself together, especially if you're doing shadow work and stuff like that, and you got a lot of intergenerational. That's why I love angels. Ancestors are another often overlooked class of spirits for use with packs. But even though they are overlooked, there are some traditions that they still consider these vital portions of the initiation. That's what you see in the ATRs. Ancestors are some of the only spirits you can always trust. Consider this. Demons may change their mind, deities may remove their favor from you. That could happen. Okay? But your ancestors will always be with you. You are the result of all their existence, the culmination of your generation, of their life's work. They have a vested interest in your success and thus will always be happy to help you. Even when you make mistakes, they'll forgive you. They might not help you in your work, but if they see you sincere and you apologize, they'll come back to work with you. You may not get that with the deity. You may not get that with the demon. You may not get that with the saint. They're more forgiving than some of these other spirits. Keep that in mind. Keeping that in mind, an ancestral pact could be said to be a mere formality, but it is also a way of showing your devotion and appreciation to their assistance. Additionally, a pact ensures their aid in much more than a subtle, convenient way. However, it also comes with its own price. If you don't maintain your end of the bargain, your ancestors will extract their price. And that can happen. You told them, promise you're gonna do something, you didn't do it, stuff can start crumbling. So keep your promise to your ancestors. If you promise them that you're gonna do something and do something a certain way, keep that promise. And I'm telling you, they can wreck up your life. Your magic and stuff ain't gonna work. And if you're doing magic and it's not working now, it's because you ain't got no spiritual friends. That's why it ain't working. You think you can do magic without the help of the spirit? I don't know it ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen without the help of a spirit. It's gonna take a spirit to help you. Okay. This is always if you don't maintain that in the bargain, okay, they can extract the price. This is always a danger with pack working, but especially so with your ancestors. Angering the host of spirits that have nothing but your best interest in mind is asking for trouble. Don't do it. That's why I said certain things I can't do, but certain things my ancestors won't let me do. I get in trouble. I'm serious about that. I'm not playing. Okay? Deities form a fantastic pact for one primary reason. It doesn't matter what we can offer them. As deities, they have everything they need. But as humans willing to offer adoration, glory, physical offerings, we are appropriating the very idea of the God being divine, and this pleased them. Additionally, the gods need us. We are their hands in this world, offering ourselves in service to the gods in exchange for their aid is an offering they will be most happy to receive. Okay, so really, when you go into deities, you go into Oshun, you go into Ogun. That's why you see them possessed by Oshun and Ogun because they embody this. They become the deity. Okay, they come in, they can be possessed by them, and so in our spiritual practice, we call that an honor for our gods to possess us to become the God. But this takes you being in alignment. If you're going to be doing that, especially if a priestess or high priestess, you're going to have to be in alignment with those spirits. Okay, you're going to have to be aligned with this spirit. That's going to take some real work, but it's not necessary. You can still have a relationship with some of these deities and not even be go in the possession stage, but be devoted and committed, and you can see them make shifts in your life. They might have you dealing with a certain cause. They might have you, they might have you doing some type of charity work that promotes their energy or gets them to be active in the community. So this can happen in a variety of ways, not just possession. So I don't want you to get too hung up on that. On the other end of the spectrum, we find elementals for the most part, elementals are not by nature overly powerful, though some are, and they can be made to be. Uh, you will see that with some of the water spirits, the mermaid spirits that we have in here. They are nature spirits, but they're very powerful. You can see that with the Orisha. Okay, now, a lot of them are part of nature. High John the Conqueror. Okay, he's just as powerful. So we look at High John the Conqueror. Uh, a lot of people try to work with the root, but the root is not going to work if you don't understand the spirit behind the root. And I'm gonna stop it right there. I go more into that in our community. Okay. However, as long as the task resides within a certain element's sphere of influence, elementals are ideal for the task. Additionally, elementals are great for assistance to the practitioner as they are living channels of elements. This is why we work with water. This is why we work with fire. This is elemental magic. This is why we work with dirt. This is why we work with herbs. We're doing elemental magic. It is not uncommon in many traditions for the practitioners to make an informal pact with all four elements, feeding the elements with energy in exchange for a steady stream of elemental assistance. However, elementals are rather single-minded form of entity, and it behooves the practitioner to remember this. So they're just going to be focused at one job. Okay, that's just like water. If you work on water, it's mostly going to be helping you cleanse. Okay. It might help you do some other stuff because I've seen people do other stuff with water, but they're going to stay within that element. Okay. Elementals are excellent companions and energy channels, but unless you have taken the time to conjure an elemental familiar, it is best to keep your task simple. Okay. Some people do that. That's why I have you to get close to plants and grow something that make friends with the elements, with the plant kingdom. That's why I tell most of you guys if you're going to be doing a root work and all this stuff, you need to be trying to make friends with plants. You need to be spending a lot of time out in nature. You need to be getting to know the soil and all that if you're going to be a root worker. Especially going to be working with plants. You probably not. You don't want to work with spirits. You just want to work. Well, you don't want to work. You're gonna work with spirit anyway. You don't want to work with the deity. Then, and you just want to do root work and work with your ancestors. Then you're gonna have to spend a lot of time in nature to get to know those spirits and figure out how they speak to you. You got some people like that. You got some root workers. They just work with plants. They don't work with spells. They work with elementals. They can talk to plant spirits, and plant spirits get stuff done for them. Yeah, that's possible. You got Hydra on the Conqueror. Okay, so you would have to really sit down and develop a relationship with these deities. Okay. Sometimes we have negative attachments that try to follow us home, invade our rituals, otherwise make our ritual work difficult. A method of spiritual self-defense you may employ is your guardian angel, your guardian spirits. Make offerings to them, draw your circle, calling forth your guardians and protectors. Ask them to bless your work, protect your work as you move in the ritual, which we're going to do that with our ancestors no matter what. You may wish to use some form of divination to confirm they're with you and accepted your offerings. You may wish to do this uh, by hanging a picture or a banner or by drawing them directly onto the wall. Florida water, railroad spikes, but there needs to be some protection there. Okay. Now, when it comes to spiritual cleanup, there are some things that should be a part of your regular practice. Some things that you should employ in special case. Do a smoke cleansing, making sure you do a spiritual bath anytime you're doing work. Put the spiritual bath on top of the work. Just go ahead and do it. Because hoodoo work better in layers. Don't go out and just do no spell. You ain't did no work. You ain't cleansed yourself. You ain't prepared yourself for the work. There's no cleansing going on during the work. By all means, when you're doing work, try not to get in no altercation with nobody because you got to stay on a specific frequency to make sure the work manifests. Okay, so make sure you're taking your bath. One thing that I feel is worth mentioning is no matter how advanced you are, you should never think you've grown behind the basics. Don't try to skip that. Some people going jumping straight to working with a deity, ain't talked to no ancestors. Somebody told them that they was powerful and they know everything and they ain't got to do this. Okay, okay. Do it that way if you want to. Okay. While it's possible to become comfortable enough with your spirits, you can take some shortcuts. You should never neglect your foundation entirely. Don't do it. One of the greatest misunderstandings is the modern spirituality is believing that all magic is the same. It is not. There is a difference between performing a ritual and cultivating a spiritual relationship. If we fail to understand the distinction, we risk becoming more interested in results than spiritual growth. Don't go in here, and I think that's true. Don't go in here expecting for the spirit to show up right then. When you come in, you know, go in there thinking that that's going to happen, then nothing happens. If you just go in there just enjoying to the experience and it doesn't matter what happened, then you're going to have better results. In hoodoo, everything begins with spirit. Before we petition a saint or call upon the angel, work with the land, or seek guidance from any other spiritual force, we first acknowledge God and our ancestors. They are the foundation of our spiritual life. Without the foundation, our practice lacks direction and discernment. There are many ways to practice magic, but the most spiritual work falls into again, broad categories. The first is practical. We just talked about that physical, direct work. Again, that encompasses making oils, spiritual baths. A lot of you are doing that now. You're doing direct work. Okay, you're doing spiritual baths. You're lighting candles. You're probably working with sigils, doing altar work. Okay. These are physical expressions of prayers and intentions. They allow us to participate with spirit through action. And you should be doing that. The second, again, is the spirit work. This is the work of developing a genuine connection with spiritual beings through prayer, meditation, offering, devotion, and consistent communication. This path is not about controlling spirits or commanding unseen forces. It is about learning to become a trustworthy spiritual partner. Okay? Many people rush toward the spirit communication because they want power or quick manifestation. In reality, spirit work requires patience, maturity, discipline, and humility. Relationships cannot be forced, they are cultivated over time through consistency and respect. There's no shortcuts to this. Don't think you can just go erect the altar tomorrow and think you can petition the spirit and it's going to happen. The only way that's gonna happen, I can see that happening like that is you making a pact with some type of spirit. I don't know how that's gonna be. Okay. Every spirit has its own nature, responsibilities, and ways of communicating. Just as we would never enter another person's home without learning their customs, we should never approach a spiritual being without first understanding its tradition, history, and proper etiquette. Research is an act of respect. Learning where a spirit comes from, what offerings are appropriate, how that spirit has traditionally been honored, and the culture that preserved those teachings helps us approach with wisdom instead of curiosity alone. One of the greatest lessons every practitioner must learn is that spirits are not vending machines. They are not waiting for us to appear only when we need something. Healthy spiritual relationships resemble healthy human relationships. Trust develops through time, shared experience, gratitude, and consistency. Offerings are not payments for favors, they are expressions of gratitude, hospitality, and reciprocity. Whether we offer water, candles, flowers, prayers, psalms, songs, food, or service, the offerings represent our willingness to participate in a living relationship rather than a transactional exchange. Meditation equally is important. Silence teaches us to distinguish between our thoughts, our fears, our imagination, and genuine spiritual communication. Genuine spiritual impressions. Discernment is one of the most greatest gifts a practitioner can develop. Not every thought is a message, not every feeling is an instruction. The quieter we become, the more clearly we can learn to recognize what truly belongs to spirit. As we spend time in prayer, meditation, study, and devotion, we naturally begin to align ourselves with spiritual forces we seek to know. We begin noticing subtle changes within ourselves before we notice dramatic changes around us. Our intuition becomes sharper, our dreams become more meaningful, our awareness expands, and often the first manifestation is not something happening outside of us, it's something transforming within us. That's where the transformation going to happen with you when you start noticing the difference with you. Because when the inner world changed, the outer world will change. Nothing gonna outside gonna change if you don't change because you're a reflection of your outer world, your universe. Keep that in mind. In Hoodoo, our ancestors remain our greatest source of guidance, our well-being, because our lives are a continuation of theirs. They know our family patterns, inherited strength, generation wounds, and spiritual assignments. This is why I teach that before seeking a relationship with other spirits, we first build a relationship with our ancestors. They help us discern which spiritual relationships support our growth and which ones may distract us from our path. As our practice develops, we may also cultivate relationships with angels, elevated ancestors, saints, spirits of the land, or other spiritual allies. Each relationship should be entered with humility, preparation, and respect. Every spirit serves as a different purpose, and wisdom is found not in working with as many spirits as possible, but in knowing which relationships are appropriate for your calling. Okay? Protection and spiritual hygiene are essential parts of this work. Regular prayer, cleansing baths, smoke cleansing, altar maintenance, spiritual boundaries, and honoring our protectors help us maintain spiritual clarity. Just as we clean our physical homes, we must also care for our spiritual environment. Perhaps the greatest mistake experienced practitioners make is believing they have outgrown the basics. You will never outgrow the basics. Foundations never become unnecessary. Prayer never becomes obsolete. Meditation never loses its value. Honoring God, serving our ancestor, practicing discernment, and maintaining our spiritual discipline remain the foundation upon which every successful practice is built. Spirit work is not about collecting powerful spirits or mastering complicated rituals. It is about becoming the kind of person with whom spirit desires to walk. When our character matures, our discernment deepens, and our relationships strengthen, our work naturally becomes more effective. In the end, true magic is not measured by how many rituals we perform. It is measured by the quality of relationships we cultivate, the wisdom we embody, and the transformation we experience along the journey. Okay? So this is we're done with this discussion. Before I close out, we've been here for a while, but I wanted to make sure I covered everything because some of you come in here with questions and things like that. You're not giving full disclosure about the power and the source of the work. And so I thought I would come here and just give full disclosure so you'll understand the spirit work in hoodoo. You have to do work in here. Nobody's just doing stuff and not having to do any work. You really have to cultivate a relationship with spirit. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for me before I close out? I hope you found this helpful, especially if you're in our community. I hope it gave you a lot of insight. And of course, you got your books and resources that you can go over this and you'll be able to sit in your resources. Okay. You're welcome so much. You guys enjoy your weekend. And I hope you found this helpful. All right.